It keeps freaking sneezing. I might have to mute the mic and sneeze. I think this sneezing attack is over, hopefully. Jesus Christ. As soon as I click go live button, I sneeze like 4 times in a row.
What you think about when you're born into a fire. Let them burn it out. Sell them to the richest buyer. They wanna let the world decay. They tell us lies and fade away, fade away. We feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. Listen up now, because we're never dropping out. Beat the odds, beat the big house. The brains are bigger than the doubt. We've been thinking for ourselves, never let the truth fade away. This is bigger than ourselves, we won't let the world burn away, burn away. We feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. To blame, haters face the world's mistakes. Wake at the back
I don't have a lot planned. I mean, we have a bunch of videos to go through, right? But we were supposed to celebrate Mariah's birthday yesterday, but Liam's golf match ended up him not getting home till like 8 o'clock. So we went to the night this evening and celebrated, went out to eat or whatever.
And we feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. To play, haters face the world's mistakes. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway.
Oh, that was perfect timing. That was perfect timing. Let's go.
Hey daddies, it's me, the Linda Binda from TikTok. I wanted to make this video because I wanted to thank you for watching Cold Beer Confessionals with Will Bird. I think that's just incredible. I've watched a few episodes and I'm just like very intrigued. But you know what I'm most intrigued in is Big Daddy's meat stick. I heard that it's very thick, like a good old German sausage. You know, Linda and her coochie loves that. Oh, never mind. Let's not go there. Anyways, I hope you have a good show and enjoy it as you can. There's a lot of weird things that go on, especially when it comes from the realm of Linda Bindaland. So, enjoy the show. Thanks for watching. Peace out.
Welcome everybody. I am Will Bird, and this is the Cold. Hey, daddies, that's right. This is the Cold Beer Confessional. Thank you guys for joining us. Like I said, I'm Will Bird. This is the Cold Beer Confessional. Yeah, he said alien instead of immigrant. He'd take his money. I think the xenophobe said immigrants, but was drunk. And if Parker said unintelligible, I'd agree, but he didn't. He didn't say alien. Oh, I didn't see that. Anyways, thank you guys for joining us. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. Like I said, Mariah's birthday was yesterday, but Liam's golf tournament or golf game lasted pretty late, and then it was like an hour and a half away. So we ended up going out to eat tonight instead of last night. So, yeah, we went out to eat tonight and did that whole spiel. So there you go. But I do have some videos and stuff to watch. Some stuff that I want to watch that I haven't had a chance to go over yet. So we'll do that. I heard Bert had a little bit of meltdown. I don't know. I was busy last night, but it sounded like it was funny. Let me get you some audio.
The draft is now calling himself Donald Trump, the man who dodged the draft, is now calling himself a war hero. This is the guy who compared avoiding STDs in the 1980s to serving in Vietnam. This is the guy who insulted John McCain for being captured, saying he prefers war heroes that were not captured. This is the same guy who said, I've always wanted a Purple Heart. Trump now says he is a war hero, and this is peak malignant narcissism. This is a narcissistic collapse. In Trump's
I think he said he and Putin were war heroes, right?
mind, bankrupting casinos, doing reality TV, and hurling ketchup at the White House walls.
I almost covered 2 days ago. I almost covered that Israeli cyber officer sex ring thing in Vegas, but I didn't. And then it blew up over the yesterday when I was off. News blew it up.
The beaches of Normandy and liberating European Jews from the Nazis. Listen to this. This was from the Mark Levin show. It's just audio.
But I got them back, worked with your friend Bibi. He's a good man. He's in there fighting. He's fighting. You know, they're trying to put him in jail on top of everything else. How about that? He's a war hero because we work together.
Oh, him and Netanyahu are war heroes. I'm sorry.
I guess I am too. Yep. Nobody cares, but I am too. I mean, I sent those planes. But I got
Trump is a war hero, and Mark Levin goes, yep.
He sent those planes. I guess I am too. I'm a war hero. I sent those planes.
Trump is a war hero because he sent planes, I guess to bomb Iran is what he's talking about here. Now, of course, Trump is no war hero. He's a draft dodger. He got a note about his heels, a very strong note from a doctor, so that he didn't have to go to war. But the real insult is that on the one hand, you've got Donald Trump kind of playing pretend soldier. Actual veterans are paying the price for Donald Trump's political decisions every single day. Trump's cutting the VA. And so actual war heroes are waiting months or years for care that they earned by putting their lives on the line for the country. And thanks to Trump's cuts, they're going to be waiting even longer. But Trump's
Nobody cares. Nobody cares that I'm a war hero.
War hero. Trump's the guy who wanted the Purple Heart. This guy's disgusting. Now, some of these people are going to miss out on care altogether. There are some veterans who, statistically, there are some who will die before they are able to get care. And Trump is slowing down the service of the VA. Men and women come home with injuries. Some of them are physical injuries that you see. Some of them are injuries that you don't see, mental health and other challenges. And they are suffering because Donald Trump's administration has decided tax cuts for billionaires matter more than getting treatment to people who have earned it. So Trump is not a war hero. He's not even in the same moral universe. There were people who were drafted and they went. There were people who were drafted and said, I'm a conscientious objector. But then there are people like Trump who got a letter about his heel so he didn't have to go. And now he's calling himself a war hero. The only battle Trump has fought is with a McDonald's cheeseburger wrapper. And quite frankly, it didn't even go that well. These are the sorts of people that we're dealing with. And maybe, you know, there was a time, and this is not me glorifying the Republican Party, it's just a fact. There was a time where Republicans, pre-MAGA Republicans, would have heard a statement like this: I'm a war hero.
And lost their fucking minds. Lost their fucking minds. Donald Trump could take a shit and wipe his ass with the American flag, and they'd be like, yeah, well, everybody else does it too, so.
From someone like Trump. And they would have said, I don't care about the political party. I don't care whether he's got an R or a D next to his name. That's disgusting. That's disrespectful to our troops. There were many Republicans who once would have been morally consistent. But now we're dealing with these bottom feeders like Mark Levin. And so when Trump goes, I guess I'm a war hero too, Mark Levin goes, yep. So it's not just that Trump at the head of this party is different. The sycophants and the suck-ups are also a new sort of brand of republicanism. People in my audience know I am a bit of a pastry.
But when you bring it up, they're like, oh, he didn't actually mean that. He meant something else. And if he didn't mean it, well, he kind of is a war hero, right? Because you can't have war without planes. And the president's the commander-in-chief. Could you imagine if Obama would have come out and said, I'm a war hero?
Connoisseur, our sponsor, Wild Grain, is the first bake from frozen. Love it. Definitely the croissant.
Check out their sponsor or whatever. This is the David Pakman Show.
Off your first box, plus free croissants in every box every month. The link is in the description.
Let's try this one.
Congressman, I wanted to ask you something Trump had said about the start of the war, but he actually just was on a radio show a moment ago, the president was, and he was talking about the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, and he said something that
Yeah, well, even imagine that. Imagine if he would have said, we got him, we got bin Laden, I guess I'm a war hero.
Have to play for you. You've got to hear this.
He's a war hero. Because we work together. He's a war hero. I guess I am too. Yep. Nobody cares, but I am too. I mean, I sent those planes.
Yeah, I mean, look, this is just nuts. This is nuts. And they're going to find, his people are going to find a way to justify this. Listen, when they were putting out something honoring the Army's 250th anniversary, they put out a picture of Donald Trump in his military academy uniform, which has nothing to do with the military except they drill you. This is nuts. He's not a war hero. You can like what he's done. That's fine. I hope he gets a resolution in Ukraine. But to put himself on the same level of people that have actually gone out and served this country, not claimed bone spurs.
Because he wants to claim the war hero status by also saying, oh, it's not that big a deal to me. You know, nobody cares. Nobody cares that I'm a war hero.
Is an offense to anybody who served.
That way he can make it seem like it's not that big a deal. I want to see other videos. I want to see responses.
He's a good man. He's in there fighting. He's fighting. You know, they're trying to put him in jail on top of everything else. How about that? He's a war hero because we work together. He's a war hero. I guess I am too. Yep. Nobody cares, but
Trump pushing his chair in.
I sent those planes. Worked with you. He's a war hero. I guess I am too. Yep. Nobody cares, but I am too. I mean, I sent those planes. You know, they're trying to put him in jail on top of everything else. How about that?
Holy shit. There's so many videos about it.
Now on the phone with more details, the President of the United States, the 45th and 47th President, Donald J. Trump. Mr. President, thanks so much for joining Fox and Friends this morning.
Good morning.
This is 25 minutes.
Quite a crew.
Well, Mr. President, the whole world was watching yesterday as you got leaders from the European Union, NATO as well, from all over the world. How did you get them to Washington, to the Oval Office so fast?
Well, I think really they have respect for our country again. A year ago, they wouldn't have come. They wouldn't have even thought about it now.
The first comment on this video says, it's going to take a while for Trump to clean up the mess that Obama, Biden, and Kamala created. I just imagine they say Kamala.
The hottest country anywhere in the world. Everybody wants to be here. When I made the call, they came. And they said there's really never been anything like it. You know, you'd have one president or one prime minister, but there's never been such a group. And these really represent the
It's pretty bad.
administration. 3 dead in a month or two. Yep. We have a thing going on right now in D.C.
Has President Donald Trump settled 6 wars in 6 months? Hi, it's Ellen with PolitiFact. Trump has repeated this peacemaker statement for weeks. Let's fact check it. The Trump administration says the president has cooled hostilities in different conflicts by leveraging the U.S. military and economic pressures. His supporters say his actions are worthy of the Nobel Peace Prize, something Trump has talked about for years. Trump and his team have cited
You know the only reason he wants one? Because they gave Obama one.
his diplomacy between Israel and Iran, the Democratic Republic of Congo and Rwanda, Cambodia and Thailand, India and Pakistan, Serbia and Kosovo, and Egypt and Ethiopia. Missing from the list are the Russia-Ukraine war, which he pledged on the campaign trail to end within 24 hours of taking office, and the Israel-Hamas war. Foreign policy experts said Trump deserves some credit for agreements and conflicts
If Obama didn't have one, you would be hard-pressed for Trump to name anybody that has one.
between Cambodia and Thailand, Israel and Iran, and India and Pakistan, although India disputes Trump's involvement. The peace agreement between the Democratic Republic of Congo and Rwanda is significant, experts said, but remains temporary and shaky. It comes after a long line of broken agreements between the two countries. With Egypt and Ethiopia, which have been in a long-term dispute over an Ethiopian dam on the Nile, there is no deal or agreement on the table. And with Kosovo and Serbia, which have tensions over Serbia's refusal to recognize Kosovo's independence, there's little evidence Trump was significantly involved or that a potential war was brewing. Trump also oversaw a new peace deal signing between Armenia and Azerbaijan. The country's leaders joined Trump in the White House on August 8th to sign a joint peace declaration after nearly 40 years of conflict. The deal is not a final peace agreement, but represents a move in that direction, foreign policy experts said. So Trump did have a hand in temporary ceasefires and peace deals in some of these conflicts, but there's little evidence he permanently resolved them, and, in some cases, little evidence of U.S. intervention.
At least one person agrees wholeheartedly with President Donald Trump's designation of himself as a war hero. During a Tuesday appearance on Mark Levin's radio show, Mark Levin, I think, says that, Trump inveighed against those trying to put Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in jail. He's a war hero because we work together. He's a war hero. I guess I am too.
Donald Trump settled 6 wars and
submitted a chuckling Trump about the U.S. strike on Iranian nuclear sites earlier this year. Nobody cares, but I am too, you know. I sent those planes. The self-diagnosis, though it appeared to be made somewhat in jest, has been criticized by some because the phrase is usually reserved for military veterans who risk their lives in the field of battle rather than civilian leaders who issued the orders. Trump never served in the uniform. Netanyahu served in Israeli IDF and fought in the 67 through 70 war of attrition, as well as the Yom Kippur War. He was wounded multiple times, including during a 1972 hostage rescue operation. This is just nuts. This is nuts, argued from a Republican. That's who we just saw, Adam Kinzinger. And they're going to find him. People are going to find a way to justify this. But Levine himself was not among those to take issue with the comments. Yes, Trump, so in all caps, yes, Trump is a war hero. Let me educate the truly stupid and their grotesquely moronic media and their crackpot surrogates. Since President Trump made the war hero comments on my radio show last evening, began Levin in a post on X Wednesday morning. There are lots of presidents who are war heroes who did not actually fight in a war. Reagan defeated the Soviet Union, war hero. FDR defeated the Axis powers, war hero. Lincoln won the Civil War, war hero. Trump destroyed Iran's nuclear facilities and everything with them, which Bush 41 and 43, Clinton, Obama, and Biden said they would prevent, but failed to do. Trump stopped Iran's nuclear threat, the United States in its tracks. He gave the order. He is the commander-in-chief, war hero, he concluded. So it didn't even take 24 hours for Mark Levin to come out and be like, oh yeah, he's a fucking war hero. Are you guys stupid? Of course he's a war. God damn, dude.
McDonald Trump just went on to Mark Levin's show and actually called himself a war hero. He said first that Netanyahu is a war hero and then added, I guess I am too.
To be fair, Netanyahu's closer. Like he fought in an army. He was wounded in combat several times. Like,
because he sent the planes for bombings.
I know people sometimes hate Netanyahu more because of his stance with Israel, but he's closer to a war hero than anybody else is. Not because of what he's doing now, but what he did in the military.
Let's be clear about something. Donald Trump never served in the military. He got 5 draft deferments during Vietnam, including 1 for supposed bone spurs in his feet like a coward. He even once said that John McCain, a man who was shot down and held prisoner of war for over 5 years, that he wasn't a war hero because he was captured. Can you imagine the audacity of that fucking pussy saying that? And now Trump has the audacity to call himself a war hero. Ordering military strikes from the comfort of the White House doesn't make you a war hero. It makes you a president who gave an order. That's not the same as putting your life on the line, serving in combat, or sacrificing anything personally. It's insulting to actual veterans who know what real war looks like. And don't forget, this is who Trump is. He insults the service of real heroes like McCain, skips his own service when it's his turn, and then years later tries to drape himself in the title of war hero because it sounds good on the radio. It is so fucking ridiculous. It's shameless, and it's a slap in the face to all of the men and women who have actually...
I guess I can't believe that Trump doesn't have somebody to rein him in when he gets on these crazy fucking... Like, he needs a script to go off of, and they need to say, do not deviate from this script.
Slap in the face to all of the men and women who have actually earned that title. McDonald Trump just went on to Mark Levin's show.
Someone said Trump is a war hero like Hitler was a humanitarian. John McCain was a war hero.
What an embarrassment. Honestly, it's that's about as small as it gets. How weak do you have to be? What an embarrassment.
I don't even know if that was Gavin Newsom talking about this, but that's funny.
Trump just called himself a war hero. What?
Yeah, I think there's an argument to be made, but let's hear the full context.
He's a war hero because we work together. He's a war hero. I guess I am too. Nobody cares, but I am too. I mean, I sent those planes.
Yeah, I don't know why you wanted to play that. I don't think that helped your case. A war hero is typically used for people who actually were heroes in combat, like George Washington or John McCain or Captain Florin Groberg, who saved multiple lives by charging and thwarting a suicide bomber in Afghanistan in 2012. These are real war heroes. I agree, those are all war heroes, but oh, do you really? Because remember when Trump was asked about John McCain being a war hero and he said he preferred people who were captured? As I was saying, I have a broader definition of who is a war hero than you. It's not merely active combat heroism, but leadership and coordinating heroism. Like, I consider Lincoln a war hero for leading the Union.
Then Obama was a war hero.
Into victory in the Civil War, or Reagan for defeating the Soviet Union. And how the hell does Trump fit in there? With his masterful leadership in taking out Iran's nuclear facilities, and nuclear-armed Iran has been something the entire free world has been fearing for decades, and Trump finally had the muster to call those B-2 bombers to destroy their underground nuclear sites to create a safer world for us all. Yeah, well, reports are Iran still has highly enriched uranium in secret locations, so the efficacy of those attacks are still being evaluated. Our own intelligence says we set back their nuclear capability by years. Look, we can argue about that all day, but at the end of the day, Donald Trump was a draft dodger. As during the Vietnam War, he deferred the draft 5 times. 4 of those were college deferments because he was at college, which was common at the time. But the 5th one was a BS medical deferment due to a bone spurs diagnosis, which according to the New York Times was diagnosed by a foot doctor as a favor because he lived in Trump's father's building. At the end of the day, war heroes save lives in war, and if Trump didn't destroy Iran's nuclear capability, who knows how many lives would be lost in the future. Also, just the fact that he called himself a war hero is just odd. I mean, part of being a true hero is not doing things for accolades or attention. You know Trump, he speaks his mind, and in this case, I think he has a point. He's responsible for preventing a rogue American-hating country who calls for our destruction from obtaining the most powerful weapon ever. That's pretty hero-esque. I mean, all he did was approve the plans from his team to order a strike, sending our men and women into a war zone who actually put their lives on the line. I think they're the heroes before the draft dodger. War hero is not a term exclusive to Trump. What is even happening right now? Trump just called himself
fucking insane. Holy shit. All right, I saw this pop up. I'm interested. Lawsuit, fake dog hit caught on video. Update. So there was an original video. Have we seen the original video? I think we watched the original video. I don't know if I watched it on stream, though. Yeah, it's where he's super friendly with him. But just watch.
Search your vehicle. Okay, what I'll do is we have a canine pretty close, so I'm gonna have the canine come out and do a walk around your vehicle. That way it'll go quicker. But just I have some reasons to believe that there might be something in your vehicle. I've been wrong before, but there's just some things I'm seeing that makes me want to go a little further with the investigation. Okay, so that's what we're gonna do. I'll wait for a canine. The canine will walk around the outside of your vehicle. If it alerts to anything, then we'll do a search of the vehicle. Okay, so he got a positive alert on your driver's side door. Is there anything small that you know of? I'm gonna have you sit in the back seat while I search. I'm not gonna put handcuffs on you or nothing, but you are detained because of a positive alert. If we don't find nothing in there, then you'll be good to go, man. Okay. Do you have any questions? All right. Yeah, it's by the number.
Searching, looking for the light.
I know I watched it, but I don't remember if we watched it together. What's up, Rob P?
Searching, looking for the light, looking for the light, do it all night. Hey, what we doing, where we going.
He gets him in the car and butters him up real good. Gets him talking about all kinds of shit.
Like I said, I try not to be a jerk about things because 9 times out of 10 is what happens. So.
Welcome back to the Civil Rights Lawyer channel, and I want to thank you for bringing us over the 300,000 subscriber mark. This video is highlighting the civil rights lawsuit that was just filed.
This is old video too, 2 years old.
Justice. So I want to show you some of the additional raw footage explaining why constitutional search and seizure that took place in Bexar County, Texas.
I guess it takes that long to get something going in court, though.
Police officer in San Antonio, Texas, stopped Alex Schott while he was driving home from a work trip and ended up ransacking his car to look for drugs.
My name is Alex Schott. I live in Houston, Texas, with my wife and 2 young sons.
Let's roll the tape and see whether this officer complied with the 4th Amendment.
But the rest of the footage, I'm so glad that I pulled the raw footage because it is crazy, and some of it is actually hilarious. Let's take a look at it. But first, I want to thank the sponsor of this video, the Ridge Wallet. It's almost Father's Day. The perfect Father's Day gift is a Ridge Wallet because it's the last wallet the father in your life will ever need, which using my link at ridge.com/TCRL, right now you can save up to 40% off through June 15th. That's ridge.com/TCRL.
I love the Ridge Wallet. Don't get it if you live anywhere near sand.
Surely the fathers in your life haven't been using the same phone over the past 10 years, and as technology develops, our gadgets have improved. So why use an old-fashioned wallet then? The Ridge Wallet expands to hold up to 12 cards, plus room for cash, while remaining as slim as possible, making life so much easier. There are 30+ colors and styles, including carbon fiber, which I have here, and also gold, which I personally use myself. So I'm still using my gold-colored Ridge Wallet. I started using it about 7 or 8 months ago, and it's still doing great. I actually love using it, as well as the key case. So here's the carbon fiber key case, and you can get it to match your wallet, but it holds your keys in the order that you want to have them, and there's no jumbling around for keys in the dark. It's also easy to use with one hand. There's over 50,000 5-star reviews. They give you a lifetime warranty as well as a 99-day test drive. Again, get the best offer with ridge.com/TCRL, and right now you can save up to 40% off with the Father's Day sale through June 15th. So if you're in the market for a great Father's Day gift, help support this channel by supporting our sponsor, the Ridge Wallet. Here is the beginning of the stuff.
Hey, how you doing, brother? Hey, my name is Joel. I'm with the Bexar County Sheriff's Office. The only reason I'm stopping you is
I don't carry coins.
I just want to make sure everything's okay.
But this is a video from Alex's personal dash cam before he was stopped. I don't see any drifting there. Do you?
Because I got a lot of people traveling out here, long hours. So everything good? Oh, okay, I got you. You got your driver's license on you? It's not going to be a ticket. It's going to be a warning. You got any firearms in the vehicle? I always ask, man, because it's Texas. Everybody and the mother has one. I don't think I have one. I got you, man. I'm really sorry about that. Oh, you're good, dude. We just have a lot of accidents, and man, the other day I ran into a dude, 20 hours, and he hadn't slept yet. So I was like, God damn, dude. Hey, I'm going to have you step out and sit in my passenger seat while I do your warning, okay? Thanks a lot, man. It's up to you. It's up, yeah, because we're not going anywhere. Hey, do you mind if I give you a quick pat down just to make sure? Because you're all right, awesome. Just have a seat next to me, man.
See how nice he's being and shit.
Oh, you don't?
So this is really weird. I don't know that I've ever seen this before. So this was sort of a fake traffic stop. He says he pulled him over for drifting, but you can see on the video that he wasn't drifting. And as you'll hear the officer explain, he doesn't do traffic enforcement anyways. Instead, he's sort of like some psychological guru of law enforcement who can just feel when there might be drug smugglers coming through his area of operations. So he asks a series of questions.
When I get change, it's in my pocket until I throw it in the fucking jar or something, but I don't hardly ever use cash anymore, so I don't get change.
And it goes on and on and on. And again, I'm glad I pulled the raw footage. Yes, I had to cut this up because you'd be sitting here for an hour listening to this conversation he's having with this guy. But just listen to some of the questions that get asked when this guy gets pulled over for some supposed traffic stop and pulled into this guy's police cruiser and coerced into this conversation.
How you say, Alec? Where are you from, Houston? What were you doing down here? Oh, really? What do you do for work? What is that? Where was your customer at? I'm not from Texas, man. I'm from Maine.
Oh, I drove last night.
What hotel did you stay at? I just stayed at one the other day. I was lucky. The one I stayed at was a new one. This thing I'm giving you, man, it looks like a ticket, but it's a warning, okay? I'm 42 years old. And I spent 18 years as an infantryman prior to being a cop, so I'm not the brightest.
Hard work, man.
Yeah. When was the last time you came down this way? You like Houston? I know there's a lot of crime. I stayed at that Holiday Inn, and I was like, and I was in this thing, and I thought I was gonna get
There's some weird parts. I don't know what part you're in, but there's some parts I'm not.
I was right by the airport.
Oh, yeah.
So
No, that's,
we just had an 18-wheeler the other day, 100-something people in it. So your name is Scott, S-C-H-O-T-T, and your address and date of birth? Has this been your truck from the beginning? What year is it? And it was funny because when San Antonio recently got that snow, they acted the way Maine did to the ice storm. Yeah. And I was like, man, it was like 3 inches. It was horrible. What's your phone number, sir? I think sleepy drivers are more dangerous than drunk drivers. You live in a house or an apartment? And then what was it you were working on with your customer here? Were you selling him something? So you just kind of go there and tell them about it? Did you go over there with anybody else? Have you ever been in trouble with anything? Anything with the law or anything like that? I always tell people, man, they think all cops are out here.
All these fucking questions, dude.
For speeding. I was like, no, not all cops. So
and he obviously thinks they're just having a conversation. They're not.
I do, what I am is I'm on what's called a criminal interdiction unit, so I don't have to deal with all that crap. I don't give tickets, I give warnings, and the main reason is I sit on the side of the highway and I'm out here looking for, because it's bad out here, human smuggling, drug smuggling, all those things like that. If you're going 100 miles an hour, there's a cop for that. It ain't me. The guy I'm looking for is the guy that's going to be going 76 into 75 and slows down to 65 when he sees me. Now we're dealing with somebody who just reacted, so
we acted poorly, very guilty.
It's all behavior stuff, and that's what we do out here. Oh my God. Is your wife? Oh, okay. And who's that, your mom? Oh, okay. Do you have anything in your vehicle that you're not supposed to have? Do you have any marijuana in the vehicle? Any cocaine? Any heroin? And that's black or brown. Any THC oil, THC wax, vapes, anything of that nature? Any types of methamphetamine, being crystal or liquid? Any pills that aren't prescribed to you? Any hallucinogens, being THC oil, THC wax, anything like that? Do you have any large sums of money over $10,000? Do you have any types of anything illegal? Has anybody asked you to carry anything in your vehicle? And are you the only person that's driven this vehicle for the last 48 hours? Would you allow me to search your vehicle? Okay, so what I'll do is we have a...
That's what pissed him off. He was trying to burn him up just to get the permission, right? Go on ag friendly, and the guy's like, yeah, I don't care, search it. And maybe he lucks up and finds something. Maybe he fucking plants something. But I think it makes them mad when you tell them they can't search.
Canine pretty close, so I'm gonna have a canine come out and do a walk around your vehicle. That way it'll go quicker. But just I have some reasons to believe that there might be something in your vehicle. And the reason I'm not trying to freak you out.
Extend the stop to steal my shit. That's right.
As funny as that sounds, I hate when cops use what's called smoking lasers. I hate when dudes like dance around. So what I do is I talk to people and I do behavioral analysis type stuff. And I've been wrong before, but there's just some things I'm seeing that makes me want to go a little further in the investigation. Okay, I'll be straight up with you. So because I'm out here looking for big shit.
What the fuck are you seeing that makes you want to? He laughed. He didn't seem nervous. He sat and talked to you. Like you guys had a conversation. You were trying to make friends with. What the fuck did you see that made you want to continue?
And this is how I break it down to people. If you have anything small, these dogs will alert right down to a roach in the ashtray. So I don't go to bed at night and dream about putting people in jail. It ain't that serious for me. So
I don't have anything to hide in my head.
And then say like, and another big one I do that cops fail to do a lot is, so you said no. If I was to say, okay, I'm gonna have a dog come out, and then you were to say yes, I would say no. We're not gonna do that.
Right.
We're not gonna, because then it's coercion and all that. A lot of guys mess that up. Let me call this up because I know he's not far. Is there a narcotics canine available?
So if you look at the body cam timestamps, it's been about 15 minutes already from the stop until the time that this police officer...
Yeah, the most laid-back guy getting pulled over ever, which he knew he was getting a warning from the get-go, not a ticket, so maybe that helps some. I don't know.
The drug canine. Now, supposedly the stop was just a basic traffic stop, but he pulls the guy in the car and he starts having this conversation with him. And 15 minutes goes by before the guy even calls for the drug dog. So the federal...
I hope the update's a good update. We'll see.
Only allows for a reasonable amount of time for a basic traffic stop to take place. Here, that is not taking place. He brings the guy in the car having a conversation with him that, as you see, leads up to this big drug investigation that is going to go nowhere. That is unreasonable. Just because you have reasonable suspicion to perform a traffic stop detainment is not a blank check to perform any detainment to perform a drug smuggling investigation just based on him allegedly drifting over a center line. That would require additional facts that are not present here that would provide information or allegations that this guy could be some sort of a drug smuggler. And none of that is present. It's just this crazy conversation he's having with the guy. So already there's likely no reasonable suspicion for the original stop because we can see from the dash cam footage that there doesn't appear to be any traffic violation. But assuming even if there had been 15 minutes of conversation in the car, that is going to be unreasonable under the Fourth Amendment. If he was going to call a drug dog, he should have called the drug dog to arrive while he was already performing the basic functions of a traffic stop, which he didn't do.
I talk to a lot of people in this car daily. I'll arrest dudes. It's shit that I'm not looking for, but unfortunately when you're looking for stuff, behaviors don't change, whether it's a dime bag or whether it's a pound. I'll take guys in with like 6 felonies and they'll thank me. And I'm like, what are you thanking me for, dude? And you know what they'll tell me? And this is what makes me see there's a problem. They'll tell me, you know what, because I've never had a cop talk to me the way you talk to me. I spent 18 years in the infantry, been to war 3 times. I've been through too much in my life to nothing, law enforcement is going to show me nothing that's going to excite me. So.
I've never even smoked a cigarette.
Yeah. I was wild in the Army. It sucks, man, because I'll run into people out here. The last guy I ran into, I felt bad, man, because he got offered all this money to take a trip. And I get it, because I've never been offered $35,000 to go from point A to point B. So I'm telling him, like, look, dude, I am not judging you. I don't think you're a bad person. And people are hard up for money, and when you get offered something like that, it is what it is. But training in the morning. I'm also on the what's called a negotiator, like hostage crisis negotiations. It's funny, I spent all those years being an infantryman. And I came out here and I was like, yeah, maybe I want to go SWAT. And as I started doing the job, I started realizing, like, hey, you know what? The Army made me, because I did recruiting too. I said the Army made me a pretty good talking person. So I realized I have a talent of talking. So
easing people.
I like when I see, and it's funny because I like seeing SWAT team get upset because they want to make entry.
Because you solve the problem.
Yep. I show up and I get the guy out of the house and they're like, God dang it, because they have all the gear on and the show's ready to go. They're taking selfies in their gear. sometimes the canine, it just depends who I get. This guy's usually pretty chill. Some of them like to talk to y'all before they do the run, and some don't. So I think he will probably ask you a couple questions. Probably the same type of stuff I ask you before he runs.
He talks down the people that are holed up in their houses, and SWAT gets mad at him because they don't get a kick down the door.
So is it like sales, what you're doing, or when you come in, is it already sold?
It's not sales, no.
The guy said, I've never even smoked a cigarette.
There's like a dead animal over there, I can smell it.
All right, so they end up faking the hit or whatever, right? And they can do that. They'll tell you they can't. They tell you they don't. They can, obviously. And you don't fucking know what a hit is anyways. Like, imagine the dog comes up and pisses on your tire, and he's like, oh, that's how my dog hits. Or he barks, that's a hit. Or he sits, that's a hit. It's supposed to be that sitting and staring kind of deal. And some dogs you can even ask, and they'll take their paw and like reach to where the area is, like it's front door, back door, left, right, trunk. Like they'll take their paw, but it's supposed to be that sit and refuse to do anything else until you acknowledge it. But they can just make up shit on the side of the road. That cop's a little Japanese.
So now the drug dog and the handler have arrived. The deputy gets out and he tells him that, yeah, like this is one of the vehicles that we've been tracking or some BS like that, which was completely bogus.
How old are you and you've never smoked a cigarette? I figured when you were young, that's what everybody did.
Yes.
Even I smoked in the Army. It was the only way to get a break. Like, I didn't smoke a lot, but like when everybody else, they were like, fucking smokers, smoke them if you got them kind of deal. Everybody else keep working. I was like, fuck this, dude. I can carry around a pack, and when I'm fucking tired of doing shit, be like, I gotta take a smoke break.
Us really probably convincing the handler that he had some drug smuggling kingpin, wink, wink.
What's going on? Yeah, so it's off that thing. So I don't want to too much, but this is one of the ones.
He's darting around, baby.
Yeah. If you want to talk to him. Yeah, well, it's the one that I was looking for. So they've been tracking it. But, yeah, if you want to talk to him one more time, he went all the way to somewhere to go meet somebody.
I never really liked the taste. Like, I couldn't I guess maybe I didn't smoke enough to like get hooked on it or whatever. I dipped forever though. Like from the time I was probably 12, 13, somewhere around there, I started dipping. And the first time I did it, I turned green, thought I was going to puke. But then my friends did it, so I just kept doing it. And that's how I ended up with fucking receding gums and shit. That's why I started vaping. I know vaping's not that much better, but I don't want my teeth to fall out. So maybe I'll move on to something better eventually.
For a job, but you can see it. Like he's giving me he's real nervous. He wasn't really giving me too much details of his trip, and
he told you it was sales. He told you, he's like, oh yeah, we just kind of show him the product. Yeah, it's just a sales thing. Like,
no, he didn't want to.
I think part of what's going on here is this deputy is just a legend in his own mind. I mean, you heard everything that he said to this guy in the car. I mean, even the SWAT team is jealous of him because his psychological powers at sniffing out these drug smuggling operations are just, it will make you jealous.
And what's sad is this cop probably took like a 3-hour course on drug interdiction. Like, they're not well trained. They could train the hell out of them, but it costs money, right? So instead, you get a bunch of people on fucking ego trips and a few guys that honestly want to help out and like serve the community. And the rest of them are dick bags.
And so it sounds like he's telling the canine.
My dad quit. This is going to be weird. My dad quit when he was fucking high as fuck on morphine. So my dad worked at this company, a road construction company for 20 some years. And he started out driving a dump truck. And then he went to the garage, like working on the dump trucks or the shop. And one day they were working on not a dump truck, but like a service truck, like a pickup truck with a toolbox bed on the back. They were installing something, I can't remember what it was. And they had a corded, plugged-in drill that was setting on the back of the truck, like up on one of the toolboxes. And the truck was done, but somebody forgot to put the drill up, and it was like on an extension cord plugged into the wall. Somebody forgot to put the drill up, and Dad was in his little office thing, and he saw the guy coming to get the truck. So he went out there to like guide him out or talk to him or whatever. Well, when he come around the corner of his office, that was like, he would be like, like straight in front of him is the back of the truck. And the drill was still sitting up there in the toolbox, and the guy pulled out quick, and the drill went to fall, and Dad went to grab it, and somehow, I don't know if he tried to grab the handle, and anyways, he drilled a hole straight through his palm with a 3/8 inch drill bit, and it looked fucked up. Like, it looked crazy. He had to get another guy that worked there. The guy's name was, they called him Grinder. Had to get Grinder to back it back out, trip to the emergency room or whatever. And of course that was incredibly painful. So they put him on pain meds, and that was really the only time my dad was like on long-term pain meds. Like, he was on pain medication. It actually, the drill bit like chipped some bones and fractured one, or like some real fragile bones in the top of your hand. So they put him on pain meds while they had him in this like fucking wrist glove looking thing, like a boot for your foot, but like for your hand. And he quit smoking while he was on those.
Handler, like, yeah.
He basically quit cold turkey with the help of pain pills. Never picked up another cigarette again.
This is one of the secret missions that I've been working on.
And I think he had smoked, at the time, he had probably smoked for like 30 years or something crazy.
We've been tracking this vehicle, wink, wink. So
$10 a carton, damn.
And so here you'll see the actual drug dog search footage. And as the Institute for Justice displayed in their video, and I'll show you the way they presented it because it was great, it completely blows this voodoo out of the water. The drug dog handler signals to the dog like, hey, this is what I want you to do. And that's how the dog has been trained. And that's what happened, but take a look for yourself.
All right, here we go. I'm going to actually slow this down. He's going to make him hit. You can see he makes eye contact, and there's a hand signal. He makes eye contact with the dog, and there's a hand. So the dog went all the way around the truck, nothing. He comes around this side. In the reflection's what busted him, because his body cam's not looking at it. In the reflection, he makes eye contact with the dog, gives a hand signal, and suddenly the dog hits. Oh yeah, and he taps on the side of the truck. Oh yeah, if you still smoke to this day, there's no telling how much money you saved, dude. Tap, and he hits. Honestly, if this lawsuit goes through, and this is true right here, I'll replay it again. Him cheating the system here. This dog should never be put in use ever again. They're going to have to retire this fucking dog because he's taught it something that it should not know, right? That if somebody makes eye contact, taps the truck, oh, you hit. This dog should never be used again. Honestly, cases may be thrown out based on this fucking dog's search, because if they illegally searched your vehicle, even if they found drugs in there, they can't use that evidence. Watch. All around the truck, nothing. Both sides already. Comes back again. Eye contact and tap. Taps the tire. Bark. I would just be immediately pissed that dog's way of signing is to try to jump in the door and scratch my fucking paint job. If I drove a nice vehicle, I'd be a mad motherfucker.
Okay.
I drive beaters though, so.
You got a positive alert on your driver's side door. Is there anything small that you know of? I'm gonna have you sit in the back seat while I search. I'm not gonna put handcuffs on you, nothing right here, but you are detained because of the positive alert. If we don't find nothing in there, then you'll be good to go, man. Okay. Do you have any questions? All right. Yeah, it's fine.
What's up, Kiss Off?
I don't know anything about it.
We were talking about how Trump called himself a war hero.
Like how the dog worked, but.
He wanted to get in there. He sat hard. I tried walking away. He started whining and barking. As a search.
Oh, he sat hard. I just walked away. Then he started whining and barking.
Looking for the light, looking for the light. Gotta do it right. We searching, looking for the light, looking for the light. Do it all night. Hey, what we doing, where we going, what we doing, where we going. Nobody know it. Hey, what we doing, where we going, what we going.
Goes through everything. I'm assuming this guy probably works in, the reason that his job's not super interesting and he doesn't talk about it a lot, it looks like he may work in oil and gas and probably does sales on the level of like factory equipment, right? Like, we're selling you a new fucking steam turbine or something weird where he's like, it's just sales like in plants or whatever. Something that you don't have an hour and a half to explain to a cop what you actually sell.
This is infrared, 360 degrees out, can turn his head. Keep your head on a swivel, it's easy to end up dead. I'm the man with the plan that's pushing you to the edge.
Was he just cutting some shit in there?
Out, can turn his head. Keep your head on a swivel, it's easy to end up dead. I'm the man with the plan that's pushing you to the edge.
He just pulled out a knife and cut into the cushion of the back of that chair.
Okay, sir. We're done. I'm going to give you this before I forget.
I think quitting vapes and quitting smoking are probably... So I would say vapes may be a little bit harder, only because you don't have the same societal pressure, right? Because they don't smell bad. They don't bother other people, that people with asthma. And a lot of times you can get away with doing them indoors, depending on where you're at. But they're both really bad for the hand-mouth fixation. Like, I'll find myself... It's not like I'm sitting here craving nicotine, but like in the back of my mind, it just automatically goes to, oh, pick it up and hit it. That's why I often do it on the show by accident. It's not like, oh, I need nicotine right now. It's just like, I don't know, without even thinking about it, subconsciously, it's just up to my mouth.
Yeah, and then your warning.
I do the same thing with penises.
We took off your car seats so we could get under the seat. But like I said, I try not to be a jerk about things, because 9 times out of 10 this is what happens. So
9 times out of 10, this is what happens. 9 times out of 10, this is what happens. 9 times out of 10, you're wrong. And the SWAT team's jealous of you?
So as you see, they completely ransacked the guy's vehicle, destroyed his property, and shockingly, they found nothing because the guy wasn't smuggling drugs. He wasn't doing anything wrong. They were just wrong. And an interesting thing from the IJ's lawsuit, go down to, and I'll post this at the blog. If you go down to paragraph 111 and 12, it says Bexar County trains its deputies, especially this criminal interdiction unit, on how to get around the Fourth Amendment's protections and traffic stops. For example, for multiple years before this deputy Babs stopped this guy, Bexar County paid for training from Desert Snow LLC.
To be fair, I probably got less nicotine when I dipped, because like I would wake up in the morning, the zero nicotine vapes, yeah, that's what I'm thinking about, just for the taste, and then maybe even getting weaker and weaker ones of those. I don't know. But when I dipped, I dipped a lot. But towards the end of dipping, I worked on the road when I quit, and I would get up in the morning and put a dip in, right? I would take a shower with it. I'd shit with it. I'd get ready. I would keep that one dip in, and it wasn't like a huge one, but it was like a decent size, a normal size. I would keep that one dip in all the way till lunch. And then I would take it out like 5 hours later, 6 hours later. I'd take it out, eat my lunch, put another dip in, and I would keep that entire dip in until dinner. I didn't usually eat breakfast. Until dinner or snack or whatever. I'd take it out, throw it away, and I'd put one in until I went to bed. And sometimes I fell asleep with it in. Most of the time, I would take it out. But it like got to the end to where it was just in my mouth, and I knew it was there. But I could tell it was such a bad mental addiction versus nicotine, because if I was going into work and I had, even though I knew I would only need 2 dips that day, okay? Even though I only knew I'd only need 2 dips that day, one before lunch, and I already had that in, and then one, so really I'd only need 1 dip out of the can. If I was going into work with less than half a fucking can, I would freak out. I would be in panic mode. I would have all these scenarios. Well, like, what if this happens? What if that happens? What if you lose it? And what if you need an extra dip? Or what if it's a stress? And I really wasn't, once you've got it in for 5-6 hours, there can't be a whole lot of nicotine still coming from it, right? But I would be, there's times I've had to call my boss and be like, hey, I'm going to be 5 minutes late to the safety meeting or whatever. I'm almost out of, I call it snuff, almost out of snuff. And would have to go to the gas station and get more. Would have to. It got so bad that, and I didn't want to make a bad impression, be late to work and shit, that I would just keep 4 or 5 cans in my lunchbox. And I only needed one little pinch, and that was it. Because I already had one in going to work. I would take it out for lunch if I ate lunch. If I didn't eat lunch, I would keep it in all day. But I'd only take it out for lunch and put another one in. But it was this mindset of panic. And I couldn't have been getting that much nicotine from it. But now that I'm vaping, I know I've got a shit ton of nicotine. I hit that motherfucker all the time.
If you go down to paragraph 111 and 12, it says Bexar County trains its deputies, especially this criminal interdiction unit, on how to get around the Fourth Amendment's protections and traffic stops. For example, for multiple years before this deputy Babs stopped this guy, Bexar County paid for training from Desert Snow LLC. Desert Snow LLC provides courses to law enforcement officers on aggressive methods for highway interdiction, including how to get around
Fourth Amendment.
The circumstances of a traffic stop to extend the stop and search the vehicle. Over the past 2 years, the percentage of Bexar County Sheriff's Office traffic stops that include searches has increased, while the number of searches where contraband was discovered has decreased. In fact, in 2022, Bexar County Sheriff's Office reported conducting 536 searches during traffic stops, but only discovering contraband in 115 of those searches. As they say, even crime wouldn't pay if the government ran it. The driver, Alec, reported to the agency that employed this deputy about the violation of his rights, and he was completely given the runaround. So he first made a phone call and reported what had happened. So on April 12th of 2022, I'm at paragraph 96, by the way, of the lawsuit, Alec spoke with an internal affairs officer named Marta Rodriguez, who was following up on his initial phone complaint. Rodriguez informed Alec that she had seen nothing wrong with the actions of the officers based on the body cam footage.
I need to quit eventually, and I will. There's just not a whole lot of long-term study on vapes. I know it's probably better than cigarettes. I know it's not affecting my teeth the way dipping did, but it can't be good for you, right?
Alec informed Rodriguez that his dashcam footage showed that he had not drifted out of his lane and that this deputy Babb did not have any reason to stop him. So later that evening, Alec received a follow-up call from a second internal affairs officer.
It should be illegal to teach them, and I bet you if it was internally taught by the department, there probably would be something to keep it from being taught. But the problem is they send them to third parties, and the third parties label it as protecting the police department so they don't get sued. But really, they're telling you how you can get around it, because that's why you'll get sued for violating it. So they tell you how to kind of get around it and what case law is. But most cops don't know fucking case law, right? What case law is and what the judges approved and what they haven't approved. And if you do this, you're probably not going to get caught. If you do this, it's a 50-50 kind of deal. And they sell it as protecting the city because the city has to pay out lawsuits and shit.
Named Hernandez. Hernandez said that he had looked at the recordings from Babb's body cam footage and could see that Alec had indeed crossed over the fog line. But again, because Deputy Babb's body camera did not capture any footage of the road or of Alec driving, they had no footage. It was a lie. They had no footage of his driving, of his truck moving, let alone straying from his lane, which it never did. So Hernandez maintained, quote, "We can see all of these violations you made from the body camera. And if you don't like how we conduct our business, you should file a lawsuit." Well, I guess they got what they asked for. So when Alec continued to claim that his rights had been violated, Hernandez laughed at Alec and put him on hold for 20 minutes. This is how your government treats you. After checking to see if Alec was still there, after 20 minutes, Hernandez put Alec on hold for another 15 minutes. Hernandez then checked to see if Alec was still there a second time. So when Alec confirmed that he was still on the line.
I've never heard about a bunch of lots of kids on BiPAP machines from vaping, but I could imagine that in undeveloped lungs is probably just as devastating as smoking is, I would assume.
Hernandez repeated his request that Alec challenge us in court if you don't like how we conduct business, and hung up on Alec. Despite the complaint reporting his civil rights violations, Babb and Molina were not.
The reason I don't want laws like that is because usually what the lawmakers want to do is they want to target the good flavors of vapes and say, oh, well, the good flavors of vapes are being marketed to kids who would have like blue raspberry or like watermelon. That's for kids. No, that's the flavors like I vape, right? I don't want a tobacco. I don't want a cigarette flavor. I don't want a fucking licorice or asshole. Like I like the fruit flavors. So usually lawmakers want to get rid of those because they're like, I guess because kids might fucking be attracted to those, but so are adults. That's not the solution, right? They need to come up with something better.
His request that Alec challenge us in court if you don't like how we conduct business, and hung up on Alec. Despite the complaint reporting his civil rights violations, Babb and Molina were not and have not been disciplined for violating any Bexar County policy and custom concerning what you saw in this footage. So what I'm asking you,
I'll tell you this: right after my, I guess my mom was still alive at the time. Yes, she was. But he had it for years. I bought my dad a THC cartridge vape. I actually bought it for me, and I hit it a couple times, and it was pretty fucking intense for me. And my dad hasn't smoked since it was homegrown shit. And I got it for him, and he fucking loved it. It wasn't like he become like a fucking stoner. He had one cartridge last him over 4 years. Like he would just hit it every once in a while, like very, very rarely, but he fucking loved it.
To do is in the link you will find a donation link where you can donate money right now to the Institute for Justice to help fund this lawsuit, and not only this one, but
all right, let's see the update. This is the update. 2 years ago, fake drug dog scam exposed, and lawsuit update.
Bexar County Sheriff's Office. The only reason I'm stopping you is when I was watching over there, you were drifting over that fog line pretty hard. I just want to make sure everything's okay. Is your wife okay?
Does he call it the fog line? What does he say here?
Joel, I'm with the Bexar County Sheriff's Office. The only reason I'm stopping you is when I was watching over there, you were drifting over that fog line pretty hard. I just want to make sure everything's okay. Is your
drifting over the fog line pretty hard? Am I just an idiot? It doesn't sound like far line. Center line. I don't know.
Wife? Okay. And who's that, your mom? Okay.
Imagine that a law-abiding, completely innocent Texas oil field worker is just driving to a worksite in back one day, and his government, who is spying on him from some secret base somewhere, where a spy named Kiki is wondering why is he making that trip in one day as opposed to 2. And so he directs a secretive unit of Texas deputies who were trained by the highly respected legal scholar known as...
What?
Why is he making that trip in...
Make sure everything's okay.
Is your wife? Oh, okay. And is that your mom? Oh, okay.
Imagine that a law-abiding, completely innocent Texas oil field worker is just driving to a worksite in back one day, and his government, who is spying on him from some secret base somewhere, where a spy named Kiki is wondering why is he making that trip in one...
Bab was looking for Alec because he had received a text through a WhatsApp group of which the BCSO interdiction deputy Garib was also a member, that Alec had made a one-day turnaround from Houston to Carrizo Springs. The text was from Kiki, a man Bab had never spoken to and whose real name he didn't know, who Bab thought worked at Laredo Fusion Center, a place Bab has never visited and that nobody else is... So a fusion center is where they collect all the fucking crazy data about your GPS and your messages and put it all together to make packages. But it's a fog line. They call it that in some places. I assumed it would be the yellow line. Wouldn't the white line be the one that's hard to see? The fog line on the road is a solid white line painted along the edge of the road, primarily used to guide drivers in foggy or low visibility conditions. It helps drivers stay within their lane and avoid drifting and shoulder the opposite lane. While the term fog line is widely used, it's also known as edge line of marking. You guys are right. It seems like that'd be silly.
One day as opposed to 2. And so he directs a secretive unit of Texas deputies.
You guys are right.
By the highly respected legal scholar known as Dennis, since banned from training police in his home.
So it turns out that he received a tip in a WhatsApp group that he thought was from a intelligence fusion center, but was actually just from a random person named Kiki.
State of New Jersey to pull over the innocent oil field worker using Jedi mind tricks taught to them by Dennis.
Do you have anything in your vehicle that you're not supposed to have? Do you have any marijuana in the vehicle? Any cocaine? Any heroin? And that's black or brown. Any THC oil? THC wax? Methamphetamine being crystal or liquid?
Along with an alert from a drug-sniffing dog who has never not alerted for them ever in the past.
So he got positive alert.
So that dog has never not alerted. They've never brought that dog out and been like, oh, it's clean. Ever.
Is there anything
ever
small you know of? I'm going to have you sit in the back seat while I search.
To reveal the truth that the innocent oil field
a white lion. Now that is something.
Worker is actually a mastermind cartel smuggling kingpin, except that he isn't. After detaining him for an hour and searching every inch of his truck, the deputies had to let the guy go.
But like I said, I try not to be a jerk about things because 9 times out of 10 is what happens.
But the guy is pissed and he complains, and Internal Affairs says that he did nothing wrong.
If 9 times out of 10 it's a completely innocent person, then you're doing it wrong. I reviewed the dash cam that was provided by C, and I did not see any damage to C's vehicle. When I think the damage is the knife and probably the dog jumping on it. When I reviewed Deputy Babs' body-worn camera, BWC, I did not see any policy violations. He told C why he stopped C immediately when he walked up to C's vehicle. When K9 Deputy Molina arrived, he even asked C for consent to run his K9, and C agreed. No policy violations reviewed through BWC. I advised C through email, if you would like to see the BWC, feel free, body-worn camera, to request it through our open records. Email, openrecords@bexar.org. Sergeant Gamboa also spoke to C for about 2.5 hours and was not satisfied. Case closed.
So he calls the Institute for Justice. They investigate. They're shocked by what they find. They file a lawsuit. They also tell this West Virginia lawyer, sort of still starting out on his YouTube journey, about the case, and he does a video on it, which goes viral, which causes Internal Affairs to reopen the case and
oh, that's cool that he got it and it went viral.
Fire that deputy. And at his termination hearing, the deputy complains that the YouTube video left out a lot.
Wait a second. I just saw him. The go-to complaint is always death threats when they go viral. Deputy Bab, attorney. Individual got paid from the county. Stop isn't in question. He did a clean stop. He filed a second lawsuit. County now wants to wash hands. Deputy did stop, and you all should back him. This case will harm him in civil case. There are so many inconsistencies in that YouTube video. Deputy Bad, I've gotten death threats. They're over 1 million views. I've got a lot of calls, and I'm going through a lot. It's horrible. I'm in therapy. I was just doing my job. I didn't know that my camera was off. This was 2 years ago. This far into my career, and to use the term dishonesty isn't fair. Attorney, if off, Common thing to be off and on. Accidents happen. Deputy Babb. It was a mistake. I'm not a liar. Dishonesty means fired. Trying to get me. So I want to appeal. Chief. You want to go to the next level? Attorney. If you can't do anything on your level, I know it's difficult with all that's going on. This is a false narrative. He's a good deputy. BCSO should support him and say he's a good employee. Deputy Babb. This was I-35. It was a deep search. There are a lot of smuggling and drugs. The video was bull. They edited it and took out parts.
Left out a lot of stuff. And
it was a mistake. I'm not a lie. Oh, wait. They edited it and took out parts. How long is the video supposed to be? Very long. Had to wait on K9 about an hour. It was a K9 alert, positive alert. They think we search cars for fun. I know it's difficult. There are so many people involved. Maybe resign. This paperwork will hurt him in the civil case. The verbiage in this case file is very meticulous, well thought out, not like the other case files I've seen. What verbiage?
That it just wasn't fair. That would be crazy, wouldn't it? Well, it actually happened. That and a lot more.
I asked him if they were successful at catching a bunch of smugglers. And he said, no, not only were they not successful, I teased them for being bad at this. We're being tracked more than we think we are.
Fusion centers are really scary.
If we want to stay on top of the constant government overreach, we have to be able to stay on top of the information. Even when I went to law school, it was all about reading books. It's just not that way anymore. We gather information now using our eyes and our ears. And that's where these...
Dude, if I was a woman driving around, I don't know that I would be comfortable stopping anywhere roadside at night. I mean, I know I make fun of the people who drive too far and the cop gets pissed off or whatever, but if I was a female and I saw blue lights trying to pull me over, I think I would go to the closest well-lit area.
Wireless Raycon earbuds come in. These Raycon Everyday Earbuds Classic deliver top-notch sound quality at half the price of other premium brands with similar features. With 32 hours of battery life and a weatherproof and sweat-resistant design, Raycon earbuds are great. Whether I'm digging into a new case here at my desk, in my office, or out in the field, they pair seamlessly with my phone via Bluetooth, and I've not had a single connection issue since I've been using them. These have active noise cancellation, allowing me to focus on the task at hand, and if I need to hear what's happening around me, but still get things done. They also have an awareness mode that lets you do both. And they're designed to fit the widest range of ears, from my large ones to my wife's tiny ones. The optimized gel tip fits comfortably for hours. I honestly use mine all the time, and I even bought a second pair for my wife because she kept stealing mine. So go to buyraycon.com/civil rights lawyer, where you will get 20% off the Everyday Earbuds Classic. That's right, Raycon is offering 20% off the Everyday Earbuds when you go to buyraycon.com/civil rights lawyer. The link is in the description. Trust me, your ears and your wallet will thank you. And I'll thank you also because buying them helps support the work that I do. Now let's get back to this video. And
if I was black, it's very hard for me to imagine that, but if I was black, just from all the videos and shit I've seen, I don't think I would ever be comfortable stopping for a cop. I mean, I would have to. But I don't think I'd ever be comfortable in that situation.
2019,
I'm already nervous as a fucking white guy in BFE fucking Tennessee. You know what I mean?
Bexar County, Texas Sheriff launched a criminal interdiction unit that was designed to roam the highways using...
Especially when that cop was fucking stalking me and shit.
...traffic stops as a pretext to hunt for smugglers. By early 2022, the unit had developed a 3-step tactic to get into people's cars. 1, they would stop people from making trips with one-day turnarounds. 2, they would extend those stops with front seat...
How are they even... Short of this fusion center, I guess... If they're making trip with one-day turnaround, so they don't spend the night down there, or they just spend the night and come back immediately. Extend stops with front seat interrogations.
Police car interrogations. And 3, if a driver refused a search, they would call a drug dog that was cued to alert every time. Using this tactic, this interdiction unit stopped innocent drivers, forced them into a trap where everything they did justified further investigation, and then conjured up a reason to search their car. Simply put, the Bexar County Sheriff's Office created a machine designed to skirt the Fourth Amendment with suspicionless fishing expeditions in the hope that something would turn up. This interdiction unit targeted Alec Schott, a married father of 2 with no criminal record, while he was on...
I've seen people do that. Call 911 or call dispatch or whatever. The cops can still get pissed. Technically, you're supposed to stop at the first available spot that's safe to do so, which you could argue it's not safe for you. But we still seen cops get pissed about it.
A business trip in March of 2022. Interdiction Deputy Babb pulled Alec over on the pretext that Alec drifted over a fog line.
Hey, how you doing, brother? Hey, my name is Joel. I'm with the Bexar County Sheriff's Office. The only reason I'm stopping you is when I was watching over there, you were drifting over that fog line. I just want to make sure everything's okay.
But the undisputed facts show that was a lie, that Alec drove completely within his lane, and that Deputy Babb actually stopped him for making a one-day turnaround trip.
I don't see him drifting over anything.
Into the front passenger seat and interrogated him on video, even though Alec acted completely normal and all computer checks came back clean right after they entered Babb's car.
Hey, I'm gonna have you step out and sit in my passenger seat while I give you a warning, okay? Thanks a lot, man. How you doing today? How you doing? Where are you from, Houston? What were you doing down here? Oh, really? What do you do for work? What is that? Where was your customer at? I'm not from Texas, man. I'm from Maine.
I drove last night.
What hotel did you stay at? I just stayed at one the other day. So I was lucky. The one I stayed at was a new one.
I drove down last night.
Man, it looks like a ticket, but it's a warning, okay? I'm 42 years old. I spent 18 years as an infantryman prior to being a cop, so I'm not the brightest.
That's hard work, man.
Yeah.
when was the last time you came down this way? You like Houston? So I know there's a lot of crime. I stayed at that Holiday Inn, and I was like, and I was in this thing, and I thought I was gonna get.
Well, there's some weird parts. I don't know what part you're in. There's some parts I'm not.
I was right by the airport.
Oh yeah,
so,
no, that's
we just had an 18-wheeler the other day, 100-something people in it. So, so your name is Scott, S-C-H-O-T-T, and your address, date of birth. Has this been your truck from the beginning? What year is it? And it was funny because when San Antonio recently got that snow, they acted the way Maine did to the ice storm. Yeah. And I was like, it was like 3 inches. It was horrible. What's your phone number, sir? I think sleepy drivers are more dangerous than drunk drivers. You live in a house or an apartment? And then what was it you were working on with your customer here? Were you selling him something? Or you just kind of go there and tell them about it? Did you go over there with anybody else? Have you ever been in trouble with anything? Anything with the law or anything like that? I always tell people, man, they think all cops are out here for speeding. I was like, no, not all cops. So what I do, what I am is I'm on what's called a criminal interdiction unit. So I don't have to deal with all that crap. I don't give tickets, I give warnings. And the main reason is I sit on the side of the highway and I'm out here looking for, because it's bad out here, human smuggling, drug smuggling, and all those things like that. If you're going 100 miles an hour, there's a cop for that. It ain't me. The guy I'm looking for is the guy that's going to be going 76 into 75 and slows down to 65 when he sees me. Now we're dealing with somebody who just reacted. Yeah. So
we acted poorly. Very guilty.
It's all behavior stuff, man, and that's what we do out here. Oh my God. Is your wife?
I think everybody slows down for a cop.
Do you have anything in your vehicle that you're not supposed to have? Do you have any marijuana in the vehicle? Any cocaine? Any heroin? And that's black or brown. Any THC oil, THC wax, vapes, anything of that nature? Any types of methamphetamine?
I don't see him acting different to any of these questions, by the way.
Any pills that aren't prescribed to you? Any hallucinogens, being THC oil, THC wax, anything like that? Do you have any large sums of money over $10,000? Do you have any types of anything illegal? Has anybody asked you to carry anything in your vehicle? And are you the only person that's driven this vehicle for the last 48 hours? Would you allow me to search your vehicle?
Completing this 3-step tactic, when Alex refused to consent to a search of his car, Bab called a drug dog that over the previous year had never failed to alert on a roadside free air sniff of a vehicle.
Would you allow me to search your vehicle? Okay, what I'll do is we have a canine pretty close, so I'm gonna have a canine come out and do a walk around your vehicle. That way it'll go quicker. But just I have some reasons to believe that there might be something in your vehicle. I've been wrong before, but there's just some things I'm seeing that makes me want to go a little further with the investigation. Okay, so that's what we're gonna do. I'll wait for a canine. The canine will walk around outside your vehicle. If it alerts to anything, then we're gonna search the vehicle.
Eye contact, hand signal, tap, tap, tap.
Okay, so he got a positive alert on your driver's side door. Is there anything small you know of? I'm gonna have you sit in the
Look at this pot leaf and shit on his
back seat while I search. I'm not gonna put handcuffs on you or nothing right here, but you are detained because of the positive alert.
So when this rigged dog alerted to Alex's vehicle, interdiction officers then searched Alex's truck for 40 minutes, prying open every crevice and pouring out every bag. They found nothing illegal because there was nothing to find.
Okay, sir. We're done. I'm gonna give you this before I forget. Yeah, and then your warning. We took off your car seats so that we could get under the seat. But like I said, I try not to be a jerk about things because 9 times out of 10 is what happens. So
yeah, 9 times out of 10, that's what happens. I mean, who would think that when you pull over innocent people driving in Texas and you lie, cheat, and steal your way to search their vehicles?
This is literally from yesterday. So
9 out of 10 of them are actually law-abiding citizens.
Please be a good update
in their cars. So you may have seen my original video on this from over 2 years ago. As far as body cam footage goes, it will always be a classic. The footage of this deputy who clearly thinks he's a whole lot smarter than he actually is, having this conversation with this oil field worker that really was borderline Reno 911 material. Recently, at an Institute for Justice event that I was attending in Arlington, Virginia, I was talking to Josh Wyndham, who is the attorney on that case, and he was giving me the update on everything that has happened in the past 2 years on that case. And it really was an epic update. Like all the things that happened, from that deputy being fired to why he was fired, and all of the insane things that they found out during the discovery process in the lawsuit that is still ongoing. So finally, I was able to discuss this with Josh for an update video, and I think that you're going to find that a lot of what they discovered, what Josh has to say, is going to blow your mind. Tell me what happened afterwards.
How about we put in a program? No, that would just lead them to planting drugs. I was going to say, how about we put in a program where they're penalized when they find something, when they don't find something, when they go through all these steps, claim the dog hit, claim that there's some type of penalty to that. But that'd probably just incentivize them to plant drugs, wouldn't it?
A lot has happened since we've gotten through discovery, and so we've learned a lot about kind of what was going on behind the scenes of this traffic stop, and then kind of what has happened since the case was filed. So I can kind of tell you about both of those things if you want. In discovery, I think one of the big picture things that we learned was that this was not just some kind of random traffic stop. It was not a officer on the side of the road sees a traffic violation and decides in that moment pull this guy over for a traffic violation. Instead, he had been waiting for my client Alex Schott's license plate to drive on by, and the reason he had been waiting for that, we learned in discovery, is that he was a member of Bexar County's criminal interdiction unit, and this unit had 2 officers, both of whom were in a secret WhatsApp group, and this WhatsApp group was populated by other supposedly interdiction officers from other agencies throughout Texas and potentially elsewhere, and they were unvetted, they were unidentified. There was no way that the officers who were in this group could know who else was in the group, but people would drop tips into this WhatsApp chat, and they would say things like, oh,
entering Medina's 35 something. Okay, the Altima was an Exxon in Carrizo Springs right after coming off of 2644 UTL, the Pathfinder rental odd travel just to 85 eastbound towards Dilley. No PC inside Medina County. You have 2 more headed your way. That silver Acura and blue Ford T4 Ford hit 112.
oh, X license plate number flagged for a one-day turnaround from Houston to Carrizo Springs and back, which is my client's travel pattern. And once that license plate was flagged, they would say, if this guy drives to your jurisdiction, stop him. And so Deputy Babb, who's the guy who stopped my client, was sitting on the side of the highway on I-35 waiting for that license.
So this was something that the department apparently approved of.
Plate to go by, and when my client drove by, that is the exact moment when he claims he drifted over the fog line and committed a traffic violation. So in his telling, it just so happens to be the case that the moment this license plate he was already looking for drove by him is the moment my client committed a traffic violation. Now, we think that that's not true. You can watch my own client's dash cam footage, shows him driving totally straight. We have expert analysis of that is unrebutted, that shows he did not commit a violation, he did not drive over the line.
No way. Oh, no.
But the other key fact here is that Deputy Babb turned off his own dash cam the moment before the allegedly occurred. And so after we filed this lawsuit, and this gets me into the other thing I want to talk about.
By the way, he claims he didn't know that he turned his dash cam off.
After we filed this case, there was a big kind of social media stir about our lawsuit, in part generated by some of the interest in your video, John.
Despite the complaint reporting his civil rights violations, Babb and Molina were not and have not been disciplined for violating any Bexar County policy and custom concerning what you saw in this footage.
And the county actually conducted a second internal affairs investigation into this case. They weren't going to do that before we filed this case. They weren't going to do that before social media blew up. But once there was a lot of online interest, all of a sudden they decided, we have to investigate this further. So they opened a new investigation into Deputy Babb. They interviewed other officers. They kind of turned over every stone, and they concluded two things. One, everything he did was consistent with their policies. And two, he should be fired for turning off his dash cam and lying about the fact that he had turned off his dash cam. Because when they asked him, he said, it mistakenly malfunctioned. That wasn't true. It turned out he'd intentionally flicked it off right before the moment of truth.
And he didn't mistakenly turn it off as he was interrogating your client sitting in his car.
Do you have any large sums of money over $10,000? Do you have any types of anything illegal? Has anybody asked you to carry anything in your vehicle? And are you the only person that's driven this vehicle for the last 48 hours?
It was nothing at that point.
Well, that's his body cam, right? But I mean, he knows how to use cameras is the point, right? He's well aware of how to use dash cam, how to use body cam. And, he intentionally turned off his dash cam before the alleged traffic violation, but he turned on and mounted his body cam on that dash to capture the entire, he calls it an interview, but I call it an interrogation with my client in the car. And that is the way these interrogation officers operate all the time. They have a standard practice of setting up that body cam video on their dash and recording these front seat interrogations. We learned that these interdiction officers had a standard practice of parking their cars perpendicular to the highway.
Strategic angles were so well known that officers joked about it. Bet your dash didn't catch it. Sounds right for interdiction deputies. Which ensured their front-facing dash cams wouldn't see the alleged violations. Oh, the angles they're sitting at. BSL report finding the orientation of Babb's vehicle on the side of the roadway would not have allowed Babb's dash cam to capture the traffic violation when he drifted. Admitting that when he parks perpendicular, the camera will not capture a traffic violation. No rational trier of fact could believe that cars flagged for one-day turnarounds committed the same lane violations again and again, miraculously, right when they drove by Babb and Garib.
Often you'll see cop cars, parked horizontally or slanted so that they can actually see.
Did he get pulled over twice?
Oncoming traffic. These guys parked their cars at a direct right angle to the highway, and then they had a tendency to pull over vehicles that they had already flagged for one-day turnarounds for the same three kind of movement violations. So it was failure to maintain a lane, drifting over the fog line, and unsafe lane.
To be fair, if you follow somebody long enough, they're going to probably have a traffic violation.
Change, right? Or changing without a signal. All of these are these kind of very squishy, like, did you touch the line by an inch or a fraction type of violations. And this is actually kind of shocking to me. These two officers over a 3-ish year period accounted for 30%.
After picking targets based on one-day turnarounds, interdiction officers stopped cars under the guise of traffic enforcement. County data shows that Babb and Garib, just two of the county's 250-plus officers doing some traffic enforcement, made nearly 30% of all BCSO stops for 3-lane violations. Unsafe lane change, failure to signal lane change, and failure to maintain a single lane. They had 30% out of 250 officers. They had 30% of all the stops. Example 6. Before the stops, Babb and Garib manipulated their dash cams to avoid capturing footage of these alleged traffic violations. Babb explained how he drives his patrol car so the dash cam is never on. Or they strategically park their cars perpendicular to the road. Babb car position drawing, Garib volume 2, whatever, Garib car.
Of all traffic violations in Bexar County for those kinds of lane violations when there were over 250 officers conducting traffic stops in Bexar County. So we're talking about two officers who are conducting a disproportionate number of traffic stops for these.
2 out of 250 are doing 30% of lane violations.
Very subjective violations that their dash cams are not even capturing.
So following this internal investigation, what happened?
The officer was ultimately kind of sent all the way up the chain of command, and he was terminated for misrepresenting what had happened with his dash cam. And I think it's really notable that there was a thorough investigation into what he did during this stop. The way he pulled over my client for, we say, not committing a traffic violation. The way he interrogated him in his front car for acting innocently and acting normally. I mean, if you watch the video, and your first video I think has a lot of this footage. Alec is just answering questions calmly and truthfully about his work trip.
It's all behavior stuff, and that's what we do out here. Oh my God.
And according to Deputy Babb, that was extremely suspicious behavior, and it led him to kind of keep the investigation going and going to eventually call a drug dog to the scene. And the county concludes after this investigation, all of that.
There was insufficient evidence indicating RO violated C's civil rights during the investigation. Of course, The police are going to protect themselves.
It's consistent with their policy too. The only thing you did wrong, buddy, is you turned off your dash cam, and that's not okay.
So the only thing his employer found wrong was the dash cam.
You got caught and embarrassed us.
And exactly. And I think ultimately what's going on here is the county has set up Deputy Babb as kind of the fall guy for what happened here. When in reality, I think if you listen to his deposition testimony, if you look at
Start with actual knowledge. The sheriff created the criminal interdiction unit, example 1, Salazar Department. He knew how the unit operated. I kind of knew basically what they did. As Babb testified, Sheriff Salazar is in full understanding of what I do, how I do it, and what my training is, right down to my stickers and use of visual stimulation. Is that why he's got the stickers on his dash? Is for visual stimulate? Does he jack off to that fucking pot leaf? Both the sheriff and Babb confirmed they discussed the unit's tactics, including some stuff about what interdiction officers do now, and some of the things that Babb had learned from training. Nothing the sheriff learned about the unit's practices was inconsistent with county policy. Babb thought the sheriff approved the unit's tactics, and even if the sheriff did not approve, the sheriff's failure to make corrective action is evidence that he knew about the unconstitutional custom. Otherwise, changes would have been made.
the documents produced in this case, it's quite clear that he was following his training. He was acting consistent with county custom. Everything he did was consistent with what his super.
To become an instructor, an officer must be good at his job and know BCSO policy. Both the sheriff and Gamboa were aware of Babb's tactics. Gamboa routinely reviewed Babb's and Garib's body cam footage. Gamboa, Volume 1, Department, blah, blah, blah. Babb knew based on these regular reviews that Gamboa was pretty happy with what he saw. And Gamboa kept the sheriff updated about the interdiction unit. The sheriff knew basically what they do, what they did, and approved. Sheriff Salazar is in full understanding of what I do, how I do it, and what my training is based on, or what my training is based on what he knew the sheriff's making Babb. The sheriff thought of making Babb an instructor was a good move. Babb's perception, too, was that they hired me to be an instructor at the academy because of what I've done.
Supervisors wanted him to be doing in terms of operating this interdiction unit, and yet he was kind of set up as the fall guy for this, when again, it's the county who should be held responsible.
Are they still engaging in this type of behavior? Do you know?
Yeah, they have, the sheriff has formally
Roads in Virginia do have shoulders.
closed the interdiction unit.
I mean, I'm sure some don't. Some of all roads don't have shoulders, but...
Which was his own invention a few years ago. And he closed it after we filed the lawsuit. I asked him in deposition if he thought the unit was sort of a failed experiment. He said, yeah, it's a failed experiment. But what's notable is that the officers who were doing interdiction
done so on other occasions. Ultimately, after full investigation, the county fired Babb for lying about his dash cam, but found insufficient evidence indicating Babb violated Alec's civil rights. The sheriff stands by the results of the second investigation as a final decision that Babb conducted Alec's traffic stop consistent with BCSO policy. Summary judgment is proper if there's no genuine dispute of any material fact and the movement is entitled to judgment as a matter of law. This case is solely about municipal liability under Monell v. Department of Social Services. To prevail, Alec must show, one, an official policy or
setting aside Deputy Babb, are still doing the same kind of stops within other units. And so it's not that the practice has ended. It's just that the formal...
Nor did BCSO make any policy changes after the second investigation. That's because the interdiction unit's practices didn't surprise BCSO leadership, let alone the sheriff. Not only was a three-step tactic entirely within the norm for a BCSO interdiction stop, it also checks the final Monell box. It led to a constitutional violation. Here, it produced three separate Fourth Amendment violations. First, Babb stopped Alec based on a one-day turnaround rather than reasonable suspicion of a crime. Second, Babb used a front seat interrogation to extend the stop without reasonable suspicion based...
title of the unit they were once on has ended. It's been disbanded and dispersed, but the county continues to conduct these protectual kind of fishing expedition stops. At the beginning, we know the sheriff wanted to kind of follow the model of like nearby Texas county interdiction units, and so he was inspired by the way they were, busting a bunch of drug smugglers on the highways, and he said, I want to get those big flashy headlines myself too and get those big busts. But what turned out happening in Bear County at least was that the way this was being conducted, pulling over people for traffic violations that don't exist, interrogating people for acting innocently in their cars, that's not going to produce a lot of big busts. And I think one of the things that really stood out to me when I was deposing the sheriff was,
Sure, but do you have any sense of the sort of how successful they were at finding the drug and human smuggling during these traffic stops? They weren't very successful at it. I can tell you. I can't think of any instances where I got called for, hey, the guys just hit a load of 20 kilos of cocaine coming up. I can't think of any instance like that. Again, I don't think it's any fault of their own We sent them to training. They were good cops. Just by highway drug interdiction is not one of those.
I asked him if they were successful at catching a bunch of smugglers. And he said, no, not only were they not successful, I teased them for being bad at this. I made fun of them for not being good at this. And so
being very, very effective at drug interdiction, not finding drugs very often. And at one point, I remember we were at a search warrant, not related to the highway, and Sergeant Gamboa was there. And I said, hey, Sarge, watch this. And I said, Bab, that's cocaine. That's what it looks like right there. And, we laughed. And I felt bad because he actually gave me a gift right after that. And so I felt horrible for having given him a little crap, so to speak. But that's the only other interaction that I can. But I don't think it was near his patrol car.
Ultimately, it's not surprising they closed down the unit for being a real spectacular failure. But yeah, I think what they wanted at the end of the day was the big punchy headlines of Bexar County Sheriff's officers are catching, kilos and kilos of drugs on the highways. We also learned that they do keep, some of the assets they seize through forfeiture during these stops. So, if they seize a truck,
of course,
they'll keep the truck for their unit and stuff like that. And so
the money.
There's a set of other incentives that probably does play.
They found out that Tennessee Highway Patrol, it was like, I can't remember the numbers, but it was like 60-1. So basically in Tennessee, if you're eastbound towards the East Coast, often they're carrying drugs, okay? And when they're westbound, headed back towards Texas and Mexico on Interstate 40, they are usually carrying the money from selling those drugs. And our state troopers, it was something stupid, like 60-1. The number of stops they find with large sums of money versus large amounts of drugs. Because they keep that. If you can't come prove it's rightfully yours, they keep it all. Every bit of it. Even if you can prove it's rightfully yours, sometimes it takes years to get the money back. And how much does that cost you? And missed time and hiring a lawyer and missing work and driving across the country to get it.
Play a part in this, but I think a lot of it is just, the desire for headlines.
I could probably go, I've never been to Texas outside an airport, but I could probably go sit on the side of the road and more effectively pick out the vehicle that likely has drugs in it than this guy did. It's like, it's obvious from the very first second that this guy is not a drug runner.
This is a really interesting point to me because I didn't know a ton about the interdiction world prior to this suit. When I first filed the case, I thought that officers had violated clearly established law by stopping someone for a traffic violation that didn't happen, by extending the stop based on totally normal conduct. That just seemed like clear Fourth Amendment violations to me. And then once we learned more about the fact that this was part of a bigger story, and this was part of a systematic effort to stop people in this way, I started to learn about what interdiction is. And these guys think that they have this down to a science. Deputy Babb during the stop, he says to Alec, right before they call the dog, he says, I've been doing behavioral analysis on you. And that's a term of art in the interdiction world where they all think that they're these sort of like psychologists who can look at you and read your,
they pump each other up. I know when somebody's lying to me. I can tell right off the bat. That's what I do. That's what I studied. The Army taught me.
Chest compressions, but it's just, we call it breathing, right?
So what I do is I talk to people and I do behavioral analysis type stuff. And I've been wrong before, but there's just some things I'm seeing that makes me want to go a little further in the investigation, okay? I'll be straight up with you. So because I'm out here looking for big shit, and this is how I break it down to people. If you have anything small, these dogs will alert right down to a roach in the ashtray. So I don't go to bed at night and dream about putting people in jail. No, that's serious for me. So
I don't have anything to hide about it.
And then say like, and another big one I do that cops fail to do a lot is, so you said no. If I would say, okay, I'm gonna have a dog come out, and then you were to say yes, I would say no. We're not gonna do that.
Right.
We're not gonna, because then it's coercion and all that. A lot of guys mess that up. Let me call this up because I know he's not smart. Is there a narcotics canine available?
They look at your eye movement. They look at whether you laugh loudly or softly. I mean, it's the smallest bits of body language they kind of pick apart and say, that's evidence of criminality. And I think
maybe they just don't fucking like you, dude.
One thing that really struck me is that
would you want a roadhead?
All of the things that he thought Alec was doing that constituted suspicious behavior. Like if you locked me in a room for an hour and you just watched me, like with unblinking eyes, right? I mean, you could spin so much of the things that I decide to do in that hour as suspicious, right? Because I'm locked in an uncomfortable environment trying to act normally. You can pretty much spin anything as suspicious if that's the way you're going to approach it.
Have you figured out where this came from? Like, did they all go to street cop training seminars?
In October 2021, about 1,000 police officers attended a private police training conference in Atlantic City. What we found was really disturbing.
We watched that video.
I'm not a citizen of the United States, so they're 12, 16, right? Get pepper spray, tased.
Because they're doing similar things across the country. Is there some central source of this interdiction training where they're teaching these guys about, this supposed science of, drug runner whispering?
Yeah, you're probably familiar with the courses, but there's a part of the second internal affairs investigation report on Deputy Babb that ends up in him being fired, where he's asked a series of questions. And one of those questions he responds to by saying, here's all the training that I got that kind of led me to act the way that I did on this occasion. And it's the for P players, street cop, Desert Snow, 720 interdiction, he mentions evading honesty by Sean Pardal, all these kind of interdiction world materials that I think you're seeing more and more of across the country. And there was that great New Jersey comptroller report about street cop and the way that they train officers to violate the Fourth Amendment, or at least skirt the Fourth Amendment.
We investigated this 6-day conference hosted by a private company called Street Cop Training. Instructors taught unconstitutional policing practices, teaching officers to stop motorists without a lawful basis and to illegally prolong traffic stops.
How many you want to go? I'm going to pull over 20 people in a row for the sole purpose of asking a series of questions. And make up your own questions. Something simple as, hey, how you doing? Where you come from? Hey, where you going? You're real friendly about stuff. And just see how people ask questions. You will learn general baseline.
all seen the videos of Penny Williams when they're sitting in the driver's seat, fingers on his computer, really just playing Tetris, not doing anything. And he's asking them very simple questions in the midst of his investigation. Oh, so who's that in the car again? Where do you guys say you're going? You going for a long time? My family out that way. Making up a story and trying to engage them in a casual conversation.
So that's Brad Gilmore of the Bergen County, New Jersey Prosecutor's Office, advocating for prolonging motor vehicle stops in violation of the Fourth Amendment.
And it's not surprising that when officers are trained that way through these kind of third-party private training programs, that they end up, not just violating random people's rights, but sort of systematically doing it and thinking that they have it down to a science. And one thing that really stood out to me from Deputy Babb's deposition was, we were asking him about the way interdiction works, and he was sort of explaining that, like, when you pull over cars that look like they would be associated with smuggling, which is kind of getting to your point earlier about, like, this doesn't fit the profile of a smuggler. He's like, it's not really those cars you want. You don't want those cars because they're going to have the small personal possession amount of marijuana or whatever. What you want is to pull over the grandmas. What you want to pull over is the family with kids in the car, because those folks are the ones who are going to have kilos in the trunk. And that just strikes me as totally preposterous.
So he really did go to street cop training.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I'm not surprised.
My grandma does.
Street cop, but he had, after we filed the case, he actually had Facebook messages with, I forget the guy's name right now, Bongino, the guy who is, kind of ran
Benino or something.
Benino, thank you, yeah. He actually had messages with him where he asked him to send him case law supporting what he had done. So it's, he was pulling directly from that fountain of training.
Well, I was looking at some of the stuff that they've put on sort of in response to all the criticism they had, a year ago or so. And his response, one of them was, well, we have the best case law guy in the business. And so I looked up on their staff, like, who is this? His case law guy is not a lawyer. He's just like some cop who studies case law. By the way, I just want to emphasize that I had no idea that this guy that I'd done the video about 2 years ago learned all of this ridiculous stuff from Street Cop, who I would do a video on like a year later. And digging into this case file, like, you really can trace all of this ridiculousness back to the Street Cop dude. For example, let's look at the sworn deposition testimony of former Deputy Babb. When he was asked by IJ lawyers where he learned this stuff, one of the things he says was Street Cop training. And
Rob, 5,252 gifted, Bug Jude 53 a subscription.
Thank you for the gift sub.
Rob, 5,252 gifted a tier 1 sub to Bug Jude 53. They have given 30 gift subs in the channel.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
the founder and CEO, Dennis Benino. So they ask, okay, how did you know Mr. Benino? And he says, through training. He's also an instructor himself. In the world of law enforcement, he's a case law mastermind. Basically, he's a guy that he knows the case law. You know, I can ask this man a question and he, through memory, knows, oh, the case law that covers this. And in his class, he teaches case law. He says that Benino is where he learned a lot of his case law regarding traffic stops. So the IJ lawyer asks, can you give me a couple of takeaways from Mr. Benino's trainings? And he says, I was on patrol. I only had academy training. I was literally just looking at vehicles for violations and stopping vehicles for violations, and I was getting nowhere other than giving tickets and warnings. But then I went to this class, and this class taught me how to analyze driving behavior. He taught about driving behavior's case law, of what we can and can't do, explaining all the things that allows you to run criminal interdiction type things to where you're watching the driver and everything, rather than just the vehicle and the violation. He opened up the spectrum of finding crime before it happens through traffic stops using case law. So he opened my eyes and was the beginning of, wow, I can do a lot more than I thought with this case law thing. And then he became kind of like that guy, one of the mentors I had out there for case law with his knowledge of case law. But wait, there's more. In the discovery process, the IJ lawyers actually obtained copies of the Facebook messages between Babb and Benino, where Babb is asking for case law advice and Benino is providing it.
I just can't help but think that if I had been in Alex's shoes, it would end up the exact same way. It's almost like an algorithm they're applying, where they know they want to search the car, and they can just, whatever you do, they'll find a way to take that behavior and spin it to get to the outcome they want, right? Whether you act normally, whether you act, you're visibly nervous, whether you're calm, it doesn't matter. They're going to spin that as this guy is really good at hiding his criminality.
Right, it's like they're teaching cops to be manipulators. Yeah. You know, it's like having a conversation with a drug addict. Like there's no rationality. Like whatever you say, they'll turn around and use against you.
Yeah, I mean, they really do think of themselves as kind of doing a form of legitimate psychology and psychological analysis on people. And it's the way they describe people's body language and like what are signs of nervousness and they think of themselves as people who can read involuntary signs of nervousness. And so like Deputy Babb had this thing where he would put stickers like all throughout his patrol car that were designed to, he called it visual stimulation. And the whole idea is if I get people in my front seat of my patrol car, the stickers will prompt them.
Got meth, weed. I don't know what that one is.
Involuntarily behave in ways, not just with words, but with even their own body language, right? They're breathing, where they're looking.
Through it, and it says Kilo Killer on it. So now the method to my madness of why a police officer has drug pictures all over the inside of his vehicle is we're going to talk about behavioral analysis. We're going to talk about visual stimulation. So if I'm an individual who is carrying drugs in my vehicle, and I'm not talking about drugs, when you sit inside the vehicle, and the last thing that you want to talk about or even hear about because you're extremely nervous about the fact that you have drugs in your vehicle is drugs. So with me not even saying anything about drugs, when somebody is carrying narcotics or that's why he has all those, what an idiot, dude.
That will elicit suspicious responses if they're actually smugglers. But the problem is that when you ask him what suspicious responses would look like, he'll say things like, oh.
That's why I always tape pictures of penises all over the bedroom, try to get Mariah in the mood.
Not looking at my stickers is suspicious. There's no way to win the game once they're in the car.
Were any of the other officers who were involved disciplined as far as you know?
No, I think it's notable because, Deputy Babb was the one who, in the videos that, our video, your video, that were posted online that generated so much attention, and he's like front and center, so his face is kind of associated with this incident. But Deputy Garrett was also there, Deputy Molina, the canine handler, and the other interdiction officer, they were both also on the scene. There was a supervisor for this unit that was sort of the head honcho of it all, pulling the strings, named Sergeant Gamboa. Like all these.
It kind of had a reverse, like Pavlov's dog effect, though, is the problem. I can't even scratch my balls without her salivating.
folks were directly involved in this machine they had set up to get into people's cars on the highways, and none of them were investigated after this case was filed, and none of them were investigated after this blew up. And I think that's really just another data point for the fact that the county isn't interested in rectifying the system they have in place. It's just interested in having a fall guy.
As far as you know, do you think that they're still doing this right now in Bexar County?
Yeah, I think that they're doing it with less visibility. Previously they did it under the auspices of a formal interdiction unit that had like criminal interdiction stitched on the uniforms. They no longer have those uniforms in that unit, but I'm certain they're still doing this throughout Bexar County.
How did you find out about the WhatsApp group? Is that something that you discovered, or did they
Have you guys seen The Office where he does the Pavlov experiment on Dwight or whatever?
volunteer that? Was that made known in any of the criminal cases?
Yeah, I want to know how they found the WhatsApp group.
Came out both in deposition and through, actually, the court granted a motion to compel for some cell phone data, text messages, messages between officers, that kind of stuff that the county had been withholding up to that point. And then it kind of all came out throughout the process of looking through those messages that the court compelled them to produce that this is all part of the WhatsApp group. These officials use this group pretty regularly with the sign off from the unit supervisor. And I find that pretty shocking because, there's a moment where, I'll just give you one little anecdote. So Deputy Babb says that he got the information about Alex allegedly suspicious one-day turnaround from Houston to Carrizo Springs from a guy named Kiki. And, we asked him in deposition, like, who's Kiki? And he said, I don't really know. I don't know his real name.
Babb was looking for Alec because he had received a text in a WhatsApp group of BSO, of which BSO interdiction Deputy Garib was also a member. That Alec had made a one-day turnaround from Houston to Carrizo Springs. The text was from Kiki, a man Babb had never spoken to, and whose real name he didn't know, who Babb thought worked at the Radio Fusion Center, a place Babb has never visited and that nobody is even sure exists. So you wouldn't even be sure that there is a fusion center there, right? Because they would never admit it. It sounds like they all went to training or whatever, and then two of them met from like a different department. They're like, hey, let's put this group together and we'll just use interdiction officers. Well, when you join WhatsApp, you can put whatever name you fucking want to in there. They're handing out to other people who claim to be interdiction officers or claim to be intelligence or whatever. And then they're sharing all this fucking data, and that's how they're pulling people over. Oh, this guy traveled way too fast from Houston to Carrizo Springs.
I've never met him before. I think he might work at the Laredo Fusion Center. And we asked, okay, well, have you ever been to the Laredo Fusion Center? Can anybody confirm it exists? Nobody in the case could confirm it even existed. And so we're talking about like a tip from an anonymous guy who works at a place that nobody can confirm even exists and who you've never heard from before that day. And he is the one providing you the information on which you're relying to pull over somebody for what you say is a suspicious travel pattern, but what is really just, Alec works in oil fields. He's in the gas and pipeline industry. He drove to Carrizo Springs because that's where one of their clients are. And is it really that surprising that somebody from Houston would drive to the, one of the biggest shale deposits in all of Texas, if not the world? Probably not.
Well, these fusion centers, these are where they're reading our private emails, reading our text messages without a warrant for like national security
and GPS data and shit.
Used, for interdiction teams, for law enforcement.
Yeah, and that's my understanding of them. I think overall, though, a broader point here is that fusion centers are relatively shady institutions. There's not a ton of transparency on them. And so would I be surprised if there was some tip from a fusion center somewhere that made its way to Deputy Babb through a game of telephone? Like, no, I wouldn't be surprised about that. But the problem is, in this, what we have here illustrates the issue is nobody can confirm the source of this information, right? And so, it's not just that the fusion center plays like the animating role here. There's also I think license plate readers are becoming more and more of an issue, not just on the kind of.
Cops typically can get data from fusion centers. That's what they're set up for. They're built on the principle of information sharing, and they pull in all the information from local police, like a Oh shit! You guys remember when I was freaking out because my little tiny ass town has those tag readers, the infrared tag readers, and they're not just tag readers. Okay, they take a picture of your car, they take a picture of your tag, they write down your name, whoever it's registered to. They keep a description of the vehicle, any damage it may have, color, four-door, whatever. Any damage it may have, like if it's been in an accident. Any noticeable, like decals or stickers or whatever. How many occupants are in the vehicle? It's not, if it was a tag reader, that'd be fine. And if like an Amber Alert and they're like, oh, that's the tag we're looking for, that's one thing, right? But this goes well beyond that. And now, turns out that the company that makes those cameras swore up and down because it's illegal in the state of Colorado to use that type of data for immigration purposes. It's illegal in that state. Well, when they were asked, hey, are you sharing this information with ICE for immigration cases? They're like, no, ICE does not have. And then like 2 weeks later, they come back and they're like, well, yeah, they do. They actually do. I think Dr. J sent me the news article on it. We should be afraid of those. We should be afraid of these automated scanners. I'm telling you, if the world goes to shit and they start rounding up dissidents, I'm taking ours out. I know where they're all at. I know how I'm going to do it. I've got a plan. If that's a crime, then come arrest me. But if it gets to the point where they're identifying people who are against the current administration and searching for them. I'm taking hours out. I already have a full plan.
Occasional, you see one on a bridge somewhere, and we're not talking about red light cameras, we're talking about license plate readers. And, IJ, we've got this case out in Norfolk, Virginia with, we're challenging a citywide surveillance system involving license plate readers installed throughout town. But this interdiction unit actually had readers installed on its cars, relatively early before that was common. And they had access to a pretty detailed database of license plate, history for drivers. And so if a driver went by them, the car would automatically scan it and they would be able to see a map of where that person had been in the past. And so
yes,
I think the part of the problem here is that we're being tracked.
That's another thing. They work off each other. So like if one scans you and then another one scans you 3 minutes later and another one scans you, they can figure out the route you took.
We think we are as we drive throughout states like Texas and elsewhere. If you're going from Houston to Carrizo Springs and back, every jurisdiction along the way, somebody is sort of tagging the fact that your vehicle was here and there and there. And if officers are kind of following that, whether through a fusion center or otherwise, they can create not only a map of where you've been, but a story about what that map tells them, right? And according to them, it's driving south and north again. That's super suspicious, right? And so it just sort of shows you this information can be abused relatively quickly if it's in the wrong hands.
They just work backwards, and then they'll find the justification to stop the person later or lie about it.
Yeah, and that's what happened here. And I think that happens probably more than it should. We can put a bit of the
Flock is the name of the country. Flock gave access to data after they denied it. I'll play the video in a second.
On the Supreme Court for this, there's that Wren decision from the late 1990s or early 2000s. I'm getting my dates mixed up, but the whole point of
it's not illegal in every state. It is illegal in Colorado.
Wren is that pretextual traffic stops are constitutional under the Fourth Amendment, and of course they have to have a observed traffic violation that justifies the stop, even if they have some other subjective motivation that's really animating the stop. And so the Supreme Court has kind of blessed this thing where officers can have all sorts of nefarious reasons for pulling you over, including illegitimate ones, as long as the stated reason is a traffic violation. And what that really does is put a ton of the constitutional pressure on the question of did you commit a violation or not. And Deputy Babb testified in his deposition that he loves the Texas traffic code because he called it a beautiful document because it has all sorts of ways you could justify pulling somebody over. And it's sort of like that 3 crimes a day thing or 3 felonies a day thing where it's like, if I drive from here to my office and back, I'm sure you could ding me for X number of technical violations that I may or may not have committed. But the problem is if you're not creating a record of what you saw, there's no way to falsify that. And so officers who are parking strategically to avoid capturing these violations, who are turning off their dash cams to avoid capturing, it just becomes a game of he said, she said. And all the constitutional violations flow from whether that first traffic stop is observed or not. Violation.
Or what point are you guys at in the litigation?
I believe the trial is set for next year. We have, cross motions for summary judgment flying around right now. We're wrapping up briefing on that. It wouldn't be surprising if issues that were disputed went to trial and we had fun next year, going to war on this. I think there's 2 basic goals of the case at this stage. The first is to say that if the Supreme Court is going to set up so many loopholes in our Fourth Amendment protections when we're on the side of the road, it's starting with the Carroll case and the automobile exception in the 1920s, all the way to that Wren case we were just talking about where pretextual stops are fine. If the court's going to bless all of that, then the restrictions that do remain have to be enforced with rigor, right? And that means that you can't pull people over for made-up traffic violations, you can't interrogate them in your car for acting innocently, and you can't have a drug dog sniff a car and search a car based on a history of being totally unreliable for that dog. So those are some of the constraints that I think really need to be enforced if people are going to have meaningful Fourth Amendment rights on highways. But the other thing is that counties and cities have to be held liable when they set up these machines for violating people's rights systematically and exploiting these Fourth Amendment loopholes the Supreme Court has established, right? So it's important that, if a county is going to say the Supreme Court has given us an inch, don't let them take a mile. And I think what's important here is that they are doing that. They've set up an entire unit designed to exploit some of these loopholes to their fullest, and they're going far beyond, I think, any of the limits the Supreme Court has recognized. And in terms of Monell liability and holding cities and counties liable for the unconstitutional acts of their employees, I think the big value here in this case is to clarify some of how that works in the Fifth Circuit. Right now, the standard is really messy. It's quite confusing how you hold a city or county on the hook for unconstitutional acts of its officers, and this case is really designed to help clarify some of that. And I mean, if I could just give you a quick way to think about it. I mean, there's lots of things you have to prove as a plaintiff to establish Monell liability. But as I see it, one of the big points of this whole area of the law is that we're not supposed to hold municipalities liable for the acts of officials in a respondeat superior fashion, right? We're not supposed to just, the negligence of one officer holds a whole city liable or a whole county liable. And here I think it's notable that the county twice had opportunities to thoroughly look into this. After Alec was stopped and his car was searched, he complained and said, my rights were violated. They looked into it, they watched the body cam footage, and they said in response to him in an email, quote, no policy violations were seen. So that's the first step, right? Even before we filed the case, they said, you know what? Everything he did followed our policies.
It's weird they could say there's no policy violations and fired him for turning off his dash cam. That seems like a policy violation. I would guarantee that lying to a superior is a policy violation. They said he lied about the dash cam.
Great. I'm going to sue you for Monell liability if you're going to say that. After the case was filed and some of these videos went up, right? They then launched a full investigation again into Deputy Babb. It went all the way up the chain of command, and they had another opportunity to say, you know what? He wasn't following our policies. And they said, actually, everything he did was totally consistent with our policies, except for lying about the dash cam. So they've had twice now an opportunity to disclaim his conduct is inconsistent with their way of operating, and they said, no, we embrace it. And my view is, if the county wants to embrace what he did, the court should let it.
This is a good case for that because, I mean, yeah, he was doing, except for getting caught lying, he was doing what he was told to do, and they all knew that he was doing.
Yeah, I mean, the unit supervisor, had a practice, I think this is pretty notable, of actively watching back all the body cam footage of these interdiction officers. And everybody from the sheriff on down to the officers below him understood that he liked what he saw, right? So, if they're acting this way across hundreds of stops, according to their testimony, and the way that Alec's stop occurred was consistent with a long-standing practice on this unit, and everybody was watching these videos, and they all said thumbs up. Hard to imagine how that's not a custom.
Awesome, man. Well, I really appreciate you, talking to me about it, and I look forward to working on this video again. This one really is a classic, I think. It's almost like not real. It's almost like Reno 911-ish,
Yeah,
when he's listing through all the drugs, and he thinks he's so intelligent, and he comes off as like just so dopey.
What's interesting to me was his deposition and the tone shift that you saw there. The way he comes off there is very conciliatory and very polite and very like by the book, and I was just following orders and all that kind of stuff. But there's a moment where my colleague Christy, who's the lead attorney on this case, was sort of asking him about interdiction, and he sort of said, pause, I'm so happy you asked that because I can't wait to tell you all about the things that I do. And he launches into this speech about interdiction and all the tools he uses and the way he psychoanalyzes people. And it's one of these moments where you realize like he has drunk the Kool-Aid. Like he really does think that what he's doing is a science and a cool science.
Yeah, and he likes to talk. Like the guy doesn't know when to shut his mouth.
No, and to that end, I'll do the same. I'll shut my mouth.
All right, man. Well, maybe I'll turn this thing off before my damn power goes off again. If something else happens, you guys get a ruling or something, let me know, and maybe we'll do it again.
I will.
It's a very good project, right?
All right, see you, man.
All right, man. Appreciate it. Keep up the good work.
Thanks, you too.
So that's it. That is the epic update that I have in this case. Accountability against Deputy Babb. That happened. But I think that Josh is correct. That it appears that Babb is just being used as the fall guy here. They approved of what he was doing. Everybody knew what was happening here, all the way to the top, to the sheriff. But because Babb got caught, he's the one who got thrown under the bus. But they're all still there. Nobody else has been held accountable. But it's just amazing to see that nothing worked until a YouTube video made the rounds. And it's amazing that this case file shows that there was Babb at his termination hearing whining about the YouTube video, claiming that there was selective editing and things were left out. But when asked at the hearing, wait, okay, what was left out? He's like, well, it was a longer video, and there was lots of drugs and smuggling. Okay, there may have been lots of drugs and smuggling occurring in the portions of video that were not shown in the original YouTube video. There was no drugs and smuggling there. But in order to take that claim away from Babb, or anyone else would make that claim, if you want to watch every second of the body cam footage, if you want to watch the dash cam footage, anything uncut, I'm going to put it all at the blog post linked below. There was nothing selectively edited. The only thing that happened was through the power of YouTube, this footage was able to be brought directly to the public, directly to you. And they hate it when that happens. So if you want to continue doing these sorts of things, I need you to subscribe, not just here, but also at the blog at thecivilrightslawyer.com. Remember, these sorts of things happen every day in this country. The only thing is that almost nobody has access to world-class legal representation like you had here. But imagine if they did. The IJ completely destroyed them here. They brought all the receipts. Let's keep them doing this for as many people as possible. Link below, you will find my custom donation link where
Institute for Justice picks these up basically for free and represents people when they think they can get substantial case law in place.
If you donate to the IJ, they will be able to
and someone's rights have been violated.
Audience has contributed to the cause to this fight because our rights don't end where your fear begins. Freedom is scary. Deal with it.
So let's see what else we got. That was wild. That's a wild story. I hope they win it. I hope they get some type of case law in place. Commercial pilot arrested. It's from 6 days ago. The audio will kick in a second. I think it's got 30 seconds before it kicks in. What did a commercial pilot do? Savannah bananas, baby. Okay.
Hello. Good morning.
Feels good breathing the fresh air. Feels good.
A commercial pilot, like the pilot of this plane, is arrested. What the fuck? Could you imagine getting on this flight and your pilot gets arrested? This is from 6 days ago. This video says Delta pilot arrested 20 minutes before departure.
Good morning, sir. Good morning.
I don't know if that's Delta or not. You may see. I don't remember what Delta's airline planes look like. What's a blue cabin like that?
Hawaii. You doing okay?
Does it say something on his chain?
Yeah, fine. When was the last time you had something to drink? Last night.
He's trying to DUI. Southwest, thank you. Yeah, I think that's what it says on his badge. You're right.
How many hours ago? Like 10 hours ago.
I mean, this is good that somebody reported him, but the rumor is they drink quite a bit.
At least. How many drinks did you have? A few beers. Sir? Define a few beers. A few beers. Define a few beers. Like 3. Okay. Yeah. What'd you drink? Light beer. Miller Lite. Miller Lite? Yeah. Anything else? Nope. Okay. Who were you with? I had fun. Okay. Yeah. Would you be willing bother providing field sobriety with me right now?
No.
Why not?
There's no need.
Well, I can smell an odor consistent with an alcoholic beverage.
Oh, sorry. Please.
What is that?
Gross.
Do you have any fresh ones that haven't been in your mouth?
Yeah. Right in my bag.
Okay.
I can smell it. I can smell it, he says. And gives him the signal. We're going to end up turning into a cop video review channel. Remember that time we covered boats for some reason for like 2 hours? Rogue pouches.
Smells mini. From last year, I don't have a PPT. And like obviously it's a fully booked flight.
Boat week.
8 hours of the last tank. We have that. We had a couple of people. So we already have a report that said that the possible might be some inebriation. I want to check it and smell alcohol. And then they reported guys. Who would have done that other stuff? It's not just
A lady that was boarding said you smelled of alcohol.
Yeah. We got the call. I can sense.
This is everything. His whole career, baby.
I have a smell of a adult beverage coming off of you. I don't know if it's coming out of your mouth or your skin. If it's coming out of the fork, I get it. But we got to do our thing. So,
Do regular city cops have jurisdiction to give you a fucking DUI on a plane? It seems like that would be like fucking air marshals or something, right? They go pull you over on the taxiway.
do I see him?
Would you do field sobriety?
Sure.
Do you have a jacket or something? Because it's kind of cold outside.
I always thought they got away with it because nobody's really checking, right? Like, they kind of clock in, they do their thing, as long as you're not like fucking really shitty drunk to where like a flight attendant's afraid to fly with you or your co-pilot. But now I'm thinking like if I'm at the airport and if I call 911 and say my pilot's drunk, do the regular fucking cops just show up?
I'm sure we can do it right here.
And I know they do randoms, right? Sometimes when you take off, sometimes before you take off, sometimes when you land, they do randoms.
Yeah. I'm gonna do the eyes first, just watch it. Because obviously I know you're not certified, so like I have to do it, but just watch for clues and stuff. Because this will be a brand new uncharted territory. I talked to the first officer also. Yeah.
It seems like they don't know either. And they're the airport police, is what it says on their thing. Okay. Sounds like they don't know. They said this would be brand new territory.
You guys want to talk to the flight attendants? They were there too.
Okay, we'll do that. We'll go ahead and do one second. Do you have an edict time or pushback?
Yeah.
You do?
We did. I don't have my phone, but I think my watch is dead, but it's like a few minutes.
Well, this can go quickly, but just totally okay.
They're like, do you have a gate time or...
Okay, so do you have any health issues? Anything? I'm sorry, you're a pilot, so you can't have any crazy health issues or any problems.
I'll tell you the horrible thing that's going on with pilots. I understand you don't want a suicidal pilot. I get that. Like, I think everybody gets that. But they're in a position that if basically they report any mental health issues whatsoever, see a therapist, take any type of medication or whatever, they lose it. They lose their clearance, which leads to it going unreported, right? Maybe you're not suicidal. Maybe you've just been feeling down lately, right? And you want to talk to somebody about it. Maybe you had something going on in your life, or a loved one passed away, or they're not, if they report it, their medical is pulled immediately. And it leads to them unreported often. The reason I know about this is I've heard other pilots complain about it before and talk about how it's an issue without saying they suffer from it, because they don't want the goddamn FAA could watch their YouTube video and ban them, right? But saying that, this probably affects other people and they know people that it's affected before. And then there's a YouTuber. There's a YouTuber who has her pilot's license, who flies a personal plane or whatever. And she was feeling overwhelmed and anxious, and she had a bunch of life changes that went on, and went and saw a therapist. And her primary care physician that does her physical caught wind of it and pulled her medical card. Not suicidal. She only flies herself, even though she's allowed to have a passenger, like a private pilot's license. She only flies herself in her plane or whatever, and they pulled her medical. They pulled her medical, and she doesn't even know how the fuck to get it back.
I noticed you wear contact or you have glasses. I do. Okay. So I'm just going to ask you to do it.
We just go away from the passenger. Sure.
Okay, so all I need you to do is the tip of my pen right here, just a little white tip. I'm going to move it back and forth. I need you to follow it with your eyes. Your eyes only. You understand that? You don't have any issues with that for me? Okay, so just pay attention.
He's not sloppy drunk. Maybe he's just an alcoholic. That's another thing that that breathalyzers don't take into account. An alcoholic, a legit alcoholic, can have a high blood alcohol content and still be fully functioning. Like, pass all these tests and everything.
Tip of this pen.
They're looking for jitters and freezing and a rebound reaction. Like, they can watch it, but their eyes want to rebound back. Or not able to follow the instructions is always a big one. Imagine the cops clear them, but they're just like, you barely passed, and then you're still on the flight with them. They're stuck in a really bad spot. They are required by law to report any mental health conditions, but they also know it immediately pulls their medical card.
For this next exercise, I know it's kind of difficult because it's kind of an incline.
And what sucks is studies usually show that early interdiction, like as soon as you start feeling a different way, you seek out treatment, has better results, right? They usually have better outcomes for the patients, but of course they're going to put it off until they're either lying to themselves or they finally fucking go for some reason, or end up taking their own life or something.
But just on here on this flat surface, I need you to take a series of heel-toe steps. I'm going to explain it to you. What you're going to do is you're going to put your left foot or your right foot, whichever's more comfortable. I'm left-handed, so I'm using my right foot first. You're going to go heel-toe, and if you just take a step to the side really quick, you're just going to take a series of heel-toe steps and count out loud. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you do that until you get to 10. Make sure you count out loud. Make sure you go heel-toe. Don't look down, but put your arms out for balance.
It's kind of amazing what a flight computer does. Like, as long as it's used right, like you put in where you're at and the weather conditions and the temperature, and it pulls all that weather data, everything about the weather, the crosswind and the all the shit. And then you put in what airport you're at, what runway you're on, all that, and it sets everything for takeoff, basically, right? I don't know. It's pretty cool.
Have any issues?
And then obviously, everybody knows how autopilot works.
I'll walk here. You can start right there. All right, you ready?
Yeah.
You may begin.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Can you turn around and go the other way?
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Unless he blows something crazy, I don't think they can get him on this.
Right, if you step down on this little platform. All right, so this next test is called the one-legged stand. So what you're going to do is whichever foot you prefer, whichever one you feel like you have a stronger balance with, you're just going to, with your hands at your side, put your foot out in front of you like this, and you're going to hold it. You're just count out loud 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, until I tell you to stop. Don't start until I tell you to begin. You understand this?
Lots and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of lawyers recommend not doing these tests, just so you know. I know it makes you look guilty. I know people will judge you. I know they'll use it for the cops use it for lots of lawyers recommend, because there's so many different ways. It's up to the interpreter.
Instructions? Sure. All right, you may begin.
1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4, 1,000, 5, 1,000, 6, 1,000, 7, 1,000, 8, 1,000, 9, 1,000, 10, 1,000, 11, 1,000, 12, 1,000, 13, 1,000, 14, 1,000, 15, 1,000, 16, 1,000.
Damn, he's doing good.
Just do me a favor and just hang on.
Damn, he did good, dude. 16?
Really quick, here's a mince bag. I just gotta go talk to them for sure, okay?
Yeah, but the military has programs now. They didn't back in the day, but the military has programs where you could do anonymous stuff. Maybe the FAA does too. I haven't heard about it, but the military does.
The next diagnosis, I didn't really see it in the one concern, but I definitely saw the next diagnosis. So, yeah. So, at this point, what would it be? DUI less safe if it doesn't agree to a blood draw, or?
It sounds like they don't even know what to do. He claims that he definitely saw it in the, what is it, in the nystagmus? What is the, hold on. Which is the hardest one to read. Nystagmus. Horizontal gaze nystagmus test. I don't know if I said that right originally, but that's the hardest one to understand. And people may not even know that they have an issue with that test, because they're going to say, no, I don't have any issues, or I don't have any, I've never been told I have an issue. How would I know that I have I've never, you know what I mean? And the cop can see something to make it fail. Plus, they can just make up shit. I'm telling you, fucking, they're going to have to start putting those fucking DUI interlocks on the airplanes to start them up. I think he did the step and turn. Even this cop said, I didn't see anything on the step and turn. I think he did really good on the balance one. A 16, especially for his age, and on one of those fucking jetways or whatever.
Being that there's not a sergeant on duty coming in, that's where I'm really...
Yeah, inner ear infections, inner ear issues. There's a bunch of different neurological conditions. There's fucking conditions with your eyes that make you fail that test.
I saw the twitch. Can you come on this one?
going to the gate. They check out things like that.
I think under perfect conditions, the nystagmus test without anybody that has some type of condition that makes them fail. So perfect candidates, perfect conditions, with somebody that's fucking, that's all they do is this, right? That they're much more well-trained than the average cop. I think that it's like 70% accuracy. But when you put that to the field, it's like 30% accuracy.
So my name's Corporal Best. I'm a supervisor right now with the Airport Police Department. So did you guys know I had a few drinks last night?
I met here. We had a drink, yeah.
Okay. So my problem is that right now, Sam, I'm talking to you. I don't smell anything. I don't know if it's you. I can smell a very strong odor.
Alcoholics sweat it out too, especially if they start sweating. You can smell it.
Alcohol beverage.
Just like you opened a fucking bottle.
And that's a huge issue, regardless in general, whether you're standing on the side of the road with regular cameras right next to you. It's an even bigger issue because there's what, probably 100 million.
It doesn't matter. That's not the point, yeah.
But the issue is, I can detect it. And so, obviously, I don't know where you guys are based out of, what the hub is, but with the FSD that I just put him through, he did exhibit signs of impairment on top of the other officer as well. So, I'm going to call upon my supervisor, but there's a very strong possibility, or a very strong probability that he's going to be taking shotgun detention time for the willful intent to operate an aircraft while intoxicated. So, if you need to start making some.
An unlawful attempt to operate an aircraft while intoxicated. No person may act or attempt to act as a crew member of a civil aircraft within 8 hours after consuming an alcoholic beverage. No person may act or attempt to act as a crew member of a civil aircraft while under the influence of alcohol or any drug that affects a person's faculties in any way that compromises safety. No person may act or attempt to act as a crew member of a civil aircraft with a blood or breath alcohol concentration of 0.04 or greater. So it's half the one to drive. These regulations include well-known bottle to throttle rule, requiring an 8-hour abstinence period, are designed to ensure aviation safety and prevent potentially catastrophic consequences of impaired flight operations.
Kits down there actually still.
What kits? What kits? Not that I'm aware of. That's usually I just do it on the side of the road or they go back to the station for the intoxicated or so got problems caused.
And when I just talked to him, he immediately dropped his hand because he was such a talk. He's like, yeah, we went out for drinks. And I was like, okay, my issue is you smell perfectly fine. You breathe. And I was like, then I put him through FST and he's exhibiting strong signs. I've already told him to start making the phone calls because
I told him I too. But
and it would be what DUI for the willful intent of operating an aircraft.
Yeah, because it's commercial. You can't have any impairment on a commercial aircraft. Like it's like CDLs. You know, they don't have a presumptive alcohol level. So.
So do you have any personal belongings on the
If he refuses to take whatever, if you can't refuse if you have a DOT license, and I'm sure this falls under the same thing, Department of Transportation, FAA. If you refuse, it's the same thing as being guilty. In a lot of states, you can refuse. You can refuse, or they can take your blood, or what. You cannot refuse anything. If you have like a Class A or a CDL license, like a DOT license, you can't refuse anything. And it's .04 as well when operating a commercial vehicle.
plane? What do you have on there? Just like your go bag and like control and everything? Yeah. Okay. So my issue is I'm trained in standardized field sobriety, and you've exhibited strong signs, and even after speaking with your first pilot, like the issue is, would you agree to a blood draw to test your blood alcohol content? Okay, well the issue is
I knew he was probably going to refuse.
when you agreed to the field sobriety, you exhibited the symptoms, and if you're refusing to a blood draw, that's DUI less safe than a willful intention to operate a commercial aircraft.
Seriously?
Yes, sir.
How did I fail? I did everything.
The signs that you exhibited during those 3 tests, I'm able to articulate.
They will not explain it to you. They just say, in my opinion, the signs you exhibited, I saw the signs, I saw the signs, I saw the signs.
Based off those and the odor coming off of your person, it's very consistent with DUI.
So what do you want me to do?
So what's going to happen is if you don't agree to a blood draw, it'll be DUI less safe. You'll be booked into the Chatham County Detention Center, and we'll give you a phone call. You can, more than likely, because it's Tuesday, it's a weekday. But that's the route that we're going to have to take, unfortunately, bro.
Okay, I mean, if I did agree to a blood draw, then what?
I mean, that's just, it's part of the ongoing investigation, that it's like, I did my part, but it's like your blood is the non-negotiable, like that'll prove whether or not it is what it is. So.
Okay, yeah, well.
I don't know why they went straight to blood. Why wouldn't they do a breathalyzer?
But obviously, I can't coach you in it. You have your right. You said no. So based off that alone, and based off the field sobriety that you...
Even if I gave you blood, then nothing would change.
Okay.
Right?
That is your willful choice that you were willing to make, but based off the calls that we received stating that people down in TSA could smell what smelled like alcohol coming off of your breath, and they're not trained. I am trained in odor and alcohol impairment.
That's fine. I mean, nothing's going to change. Okay. Your mind. I didn't even talk to TSA today. I went to KCM.
It's operated by TSA.
Right. Okay. So, all right, I'll get my stuff. Right. What are we going to do?
Okay. My officer is going to grab your stuff. If you don't mind, we're just going to head up to the patrol car so that way we don't have to do all in front of the public eye. As long as you just be cool, I'll be cool.
Oh, absolutely. So, like, yeah, I'd like to, take care of something. So,
yeah, if you would like to, we can do that.
Yeah.
Do you want some overtime, or you want me to take it? Well, just because I'm going to have to give a report if you don't mind taking the cattle. Since you refuse blood. I want to get next squared away.
FAR, part 61.16 basically says refusal to submit the breath blood testing required by law enforcement is grounds for suspension and or revocation of certificates. This trumps any local FST refusal laws state in regard of your career. If you refuse FSTs, you can be charged with DUI in most jurisdictions, which may lead to the same result.
751-749. If you are off airport property, can you keep straight back here? Just get your head in there, just make sure it's not like really down.
He needs to get a hold of his union rep immediately. Yeah, I'm not sure. I guess we could try to keep up with it. I have no idea how this will turn out. Maybe he loses. If he loses medical or his license over this, it'll make him incredibly hard to get his medical card again. DUIs in your personal vehicle can ruin your career, much less trying to get on a plane and fly. I think I would love to be a fucking airplane pilot. The training's so goddamn expensive, though. Maybe I'm just a nerd.
If you could just give me the first officer's information.
I can. How do you feel about a can? No, it's just flat water. Do you have that?
No, I wasn't afraid of it.
No, we just make easier to recycle and stuff. And it's a little cold.
I don't know why he would refuse if he wasn't. Why he would refuse a blood draw. I don't know why they went straight to blood. Why wouldn't they just do a breathalyzer? It's got to be embarrassing.
Go ahead. Can you grab that?
I kind of feel bad for him too. Like I feel like he did really good on the fields test, but of course that's always the fucking cop grading you. Who the fuck knows? But why would he refuse? I would like to know what his blood alcohol content was, but apparently they can't force him.
Not really quickly, like I said, I'm gonna be cool with you. That's a shitty scenario. Do you have like a driver's license with you? Like, you got like airport credentials or anything? I just keep that just for documentational purposes. Yeah, 2 phones. And then you might just take off the lanyard so I can just take a picture of your stuff. That's pretty nice too.
God damn, he was jamming out, bro.
I don't believe that they're going to allow you to keep all this at the jail, so we're just going to log into our evidence here. That way, once you get bailed out and come back here, there'll be a property sheet and everything, so you'll have to come back out here. Then evidence custodian will sign your luggage back out to you, okay?
I guess. How about my wallet?
You can keep that. And then you have your phone as well? Yeah, those they'll let you keep those, unfortunately, just because it's like big luggage and everything. They don't let people keep that anymore. So, unfortunately, this is the nitty-gritty part. I just have to read you the applied consent law in Georgia. Even though I know your license was out of a different state, you're just currently in Georgia. So the implied consent law for people over the age of 21 states that in the state of Georgia has conditioned people with the privilege to drive upon highways in the state upon the submission to the state-administered chemical test of your blood, breath, or urine, otherly bodily substances for the purpose of determining you are under the influence of alcohol or drugs. If you refuse this testing, your Georgia driver's license, or in this case your out-of-state license, will be suspended for the privilege of a minimum of 1 year. The refusal to submit blood testing may be offered into evidence against you at trial. If you submit the testing and the results indicate an alcohol concentration of 0.08 grams or more, your Georgia or out-of-state driver's license or privilege to drive on the highways of this state may be suspended for a minimum minimum of 1 year. You are entitled to additional chemical tests of your blood or other bodily substances at your own expense and from qualified personnel of your own choosing. And you've already agreed you did not want to participate in the blood draw. So because of that, I'm bound to detain you. Like I said, as long as you just continue to be cool with me, I'll do it, okay? Can you step away really quick? If you just want to put it up there with your ID and everything, I'll be all in a little baggie for you. So you can just stand face away from me. Oh, before you sit down, just mention him right there on top.
He didn't know he was going to get cuffed. I don't imagine anything more interesting happening. The back seats for cop cars that now have the cutout where your hands go look fucking amazing, dude. That's the most uncomfortable shit in the world.
I have one white male, 1095, red and by consent, refused blood.
Airlines is asking, is there any way that they're releasing them to the airlines? Because they've got the how the on phone and trying to figure out what they're going to do.
Yeah. I'm on the upper link group. Yeah. Can you just make sure the heat's on? I know it's cold. Okay.
It's got to be. I don't think anything else interesting is going to happen. It's got to be about to end. Yeah, about 8 more seconds. Damn. What is this one?
Watching a Delta pilot in uniform being arrested in Minneapolis-St. Paul Airport. It's about noon on a Tuesday, and before we get into why he got arrested and the entire interrogation process,
before I ask you questions, you kind of want to tell me kind of what's going on.
We first need to talk about how.
So the pilot's FAA certification was revoked in March. He can reapply after 1 year. Okay.
All the alarm bells got sounded this Tuesday morning in July. Pilots inside the airport terminal environment typically interact with the airport police.
This is the same thing. This is almost the same story.
Crew member, we call it KCM, which is where we start. Here's the pilot going through KCM. He hands what I think is his driver's license, and then he scans his KCM barcode, which we usually keep right behind our badge. And then he has to show his badge to the TSA agent. What happens when you scan your barcode is on their screen it pops up your picture, and then if you're approved or not. So let's say you're on a leave of absence from your airline, and you don't have access to KCM anymore, so it will say unapproved. I know that because it happened. I did a training, and during that training, for some reason, I got categorized on a leave of absence, and I tried to go through, and they're like, "You're not approved. Is there something going on with your airline?" I was like, I don't think so. So I ended up calling my chief pilot, and he's like, "Oh crap," and they had to go fix it. But that's what happens. You have to be approved and in the system, and so there's a whole background check and all this stuff that allows you to be in the system. So when you scan the barcode, it shows up there. The other thing that happens now, which wasn't really happening at this time, is it decides when you get a random security check. So it'll pop up, and there will be like random, and now you got to go through the regular passenger security line that you see. Sometimes you'll see a random pilot or flight attendant going through that line, and usually what that is because they went through the KCM, they got random, and then they go through there. The old system used to be they would just like check off a box, and then when they get like every 10 person, they would just send them over there. Now it's
I didn't know that. They get random security checks.
The system generated, although for me it seems like 50% of the time I get random, so it doesn't seem that random. But anyways, that's how it works right now. Barcode, scan, picture, you're either allowed to go in or you're not. And it looks like everything went well. He leaves the TSA agent, goes right on up the stairs, and the flight attendant's behind him. It doesn't seem like there was any issues with this checkpoint. From that point, you either head to your crew room, which a lot of times is behind the security area, so that way if you're sitting on reserve and they need you, you can quickly get to your gate. You already have everything already approved through security, or you're going to head to your gate. Depends on what kind of time frame you're on. If you're showing up to the airport and you're 45 minutes before departure, let's say, you might go straight to your gate. In this case, the pilot passes security. He's seen here making his way to the gate. He's just starting his first flight of the pattern, meaning he's coming from home and not a layover. Minneapolis is his home base airport, so he's very familiar with it, but he comes across something that is very unusual, and it's this random security checkpoint. You can see the pilot hesitate for a minute as he approaches before going and talking to one of the agents, who I'm guessing will confirm that everyone's bag needs to be looked into, and that's where things start to go downhill for this pilot. According to
Oh no.
one of the agents that was in this area, this is how they described the pilot's appearance.
Pilot, he looked a little disheveled, like he had the white with the epaulets and that, but it was in dire need of an ironing. It was kind of a schleppy look.
Now I understand the pilot's hesitation here because he's at his home airport, very familiar with it. If this was a place that he'd never been to, he probably would have been like, okay, this is what we're doing here at this airport. You kind of just go with the flow. But being at his home airport, he's very familiar. He's probably been there for years and going in and out of that airport. And so the hesitation I understand, and then going over to the agent and going like, is that something I have to do, or is that just a passenger thing? So I understand that hesitation. But his actions after this raise some alarm bells. After the pilot walks away from the inspection area, the supervisor reports his suspicious behavior to the police, who start looking for him and trying to figure out where he went. The pilot makes his very long way through the terminal, so where is he going? After going down the escalator and far from the terminal that he was trying to make
I bet you he knows a different way around.
He walks in here, the bathroom. So why walk so far away from the area that you're trying to go to?
Oh, no, he's going to
there was a bathroom.
Dump it.
Checkpoint. I don't know Minneapolis very well. I've only been there a few times, but this sign right here appears to be a bathroom sign of sorts. And even if that sign isn't for a men's bathroom, usually they're all pretty close together. So why leave and walk so far away from the direction you're trying to go? Unless you were trying to do something you didn't want anyone to see. Especially these guys. As he was approaching his gate, he may have noticed these guys right here, who look like some type of law enforcement that are standing right by the bathroom. Of course, there are no bathroom cameras, so we can't be for sure exactly what he was doing in there, but according to police records, he was in there for 27 seconds as he walked back out and went to the security checkpoint that he had originally walked away from. And while he—
Damn, that looks suspicious as fuck.
What were you doing? Where did you go? The pilot says he went into the crew room, which is an area that the pilots usually hang out in before our flights. But when pilots call the eye in the sky, they confirm that he
That's crazy.
to this bathroom. Like a good police officer, they're thinking, why would he lie about going to a crew room when he went to the bathroom? So they went into the bathroom to see if there was anything suspicious in there. Now, meanwhile, while the police are in this bathroom looking through everything, the pilot—
Surely to God he flushed it.
And one of the flight attendants head down the jet bridge. It's common on day—
If he flushed it, he's got away with it.
one of your pattern that everybody's coming in staggered because people are coming from home or they're coming from wherever they're staying, a hotel, whatever it is, and they're starting their trip. Unlike what you might be used to seeing where there's a group of pilots and flight attendants that are moving together, that's usually coming off of a layover. But in the very first start of your pattern, since everybody's scattered about, you'll have a time that you need to be there at the plane, but everyone's scattered and coming in within 5, 10, 15 minutes of that time, and you'll meet up there and you'll start your trip. So them going down there is totally normal. This pilot would start doing their pre-flight duties, like doing the walk around and setting up and pre-flighting the aircraft. Meanwhile, the police are here in the bathroom and they found something hidden in the trash, which caused them to be even more suspicious of this pilot. And they have to move quickly because this Delta aircraft is already starting to board. If it pushes back and takes off, there's really not much the police can do until the plane lands. The police officers are quickly dispatched over to the gate. And this is when the gate agent knows it's going to be a problem because it's not just one, not two, but at least 3 different officers, including this guy, who's a detective. And you're going to see why he's relevant later in this video. Now, anybody who's flown before, when they walk on the plane, a lot of times, well, if they're like me, they would look to their left and look into the flight deck and go, man, that's pretty small up there. So you know that it's not a lot of space, especially to have, because the captain's already up there. This guy's already shown up. So you have 2 pilots up there. So it's already kind of small. And now you've had 3 different, potentially police officers, possibly a 4th, that have shown up there onto the flight deck. So you're not going to be able to comfortably fit everybody up there. And what's interesting is this detective, while he's up there talking with them, people are getting onto the aircraft, and the officer, the detective, offers for this pilot to call in sick, which he says, no, I feel fine. I want to go do the flight. Either way, once it becomes obvious that this plane is definitely not going anywhere, passengers are quickly told to get back off of the jet bridge and head back up to the gate where they're going to wait. After they finish deplaning, you see the pilot here in handcuffs being removed from the plane. But you'll notice that he isn't wearing the same hat that he had on earlier. He's wearing a ball cap, which to me is a bit strange. That means that the police officer or the detective, whoever was arresting him, gave him the courtesy of putting something on, I guess, to hide his face. But my thought would be, if that is what you're trying to do, is trying to show up low-key, would it be taking off your uniform shirt? I'm used to, well, I have seen it many times, people walking through the airport with police in handcuffs. Usually they have a sweater or something over their hands trying to hide it, but it's pretty apparent who's who. I've seen senators before that are walking through the airport. Rand Paul, one time I saw him coming into Cincinnati, and it catches your eye because you'll see a person and 2 or 3 police officers, which is, by the way, that senator wasn't being arrested. I'm just saying, it catches my eye when I see somebody with police officers around them, right? So if I was trying to, let's say I got arrested in this situation and I was trying to be really low-key about it, the hat makes sense, but I would also just take off my uniform shirt and put on a regular shirt. That would attract a lot less attention. If I'm walking through as a passenger or a normal person and I see a pilot with handcuffs, the baseball hat isn't going to be like, oh, everything's normal here. It would draw even more attention than otherwise. So about 3 hours after all this started, where he showed up to the gate, he's taken back here to the police station for a breathalyzer and a blood test, which is common.
So he just hid his alcohol in the trash or a mini bottle or something? Flush it, bro.
Randomed before, and that means they can either drug test you, they can do a urine test, we call it a piss test, or you can be breathalyzed, meaning you blow into the tube. It can be both. I've had it just random throughout the years. It happens. So that's common. The other thing is that if you were ever involved in an incident, let's say you're flying and something major breaks on your plane, there's a mayday, let's say you have a major engine malfunction, or so that way there's no question about it. They're going to look for drugs, they're going to look for alcohol, they're going to look for everything. Now, if you don't have anything in your system, no big deal, but that is normal. So it's just kind of part of what you sign, where it all starts to unravel.
All right. So I read your right earlier, right? Yeah. You kind of recall it was right, and you still want to talk to me. Yeah. Okay. All right. So if you kind of just, before I ask you a question, you kind of just want to tell me kind of what's going on, and just start over. And yeah, I'll start over. Okay. Yeah, I know I had the bag, and I knew that I was delivering it through there, but I guess I was more than just embarrassed to have it. Yeah. So I did throw it out. So I apologize. That's all that I had in there. So I didn't ditch anything else. Okay. And then I honestly, I don't know how I still have, or possibly had alcohol on my breath yet, because I did have drinks yesterday afternoon, but I know it was.
What he's apologizing for is throwing away a bottle of liquor. And I'm not talking about the minis you've flown on first class or you've seen on airplanes or potentially you've seen flight crew. We had these little minis sometimes.
Oh, so he had a full-size bottle?
And they're just one shot. So he's not talking about apologizing about throwing a mini in the trash.
A handle?
A bit more. According to reports, they found this, an unopened bottle of a 1.75 liters of Phillips vodka. And this isn't just a generic photo of vodka that I pulled off the internet. This is actually the brand that he was drinking. And when I saw that, I thought, oh, this must be some, I'm not a big drinker, but I thought this must be some really cool brand of vodka that I've never heard of before. And so I jumped online and Googled it to see what does it look like. Spoiler alert, they sell it at Target for $14.99 and it comes in a plastic bottle. Anybody knows if your vodka's coming in a plastic bottle, it's basically the absolute cheapest vodka you're gonna get, which is gonna cause you a terrible headache. But if you're just looking to drink and get drunk, then this will get you there. But the hangover, at least in my experience, is...
So he's an alcoholic, maybe.
What time about did you have your last drink yesterday? 6 o'clock. Okay. And how many did you have? Well, the last drink I had 4. 4, yeah. About 4, yeah. And what were they? I had 1 beer and then 3 mixed drinks. Okay. And how big was the beer? Just a can. Okay. And what were the mixed drinks? It was vodka. Okay. So did you feel any of the effects still today? No. Okay. No, I'm blown away. Okay. And have you ever flown an aircraft while you felt any effects from alcohol or anything else? Okay. No. So you came through, you went up, sat in the airplane. Where were you kind of, when I came up to you, where were you kind of in your progress? Were you doing your in-flight checks? You already completed your in-flight checks? Or how you started stopping the day? Okay. What I did, I pulled the flight plan out. Okay.
Remember, this is happening on a Tuesday. He originally told the police that it had been 3 days since he had drank the last time. So there's already these multiple lies that are happening. He's lying about going to the crew room, which wasn't true, and they proved that. He's lying about the last time he drank being 3 days ago, and it's not showing that to be accurate. So there's a lot of things where there is a reason for them to keep digging. There seems to be something that's being hidden here. What you're about to see here as they get into the explanation of the results from the breathalyzer that he just did.
It looks like you guys are getting ready to board. Because there's a couple passengers around, looks like one of the extra assistants. You guys are getting ready to board, right? I don't know. Okay. You don't deal with that. Okay. Where are you flying to? San Diego. Okay. And this is your first flight of the day? Yeah. Okay. Where were you going from San Diego? Was that your final or are you going to land over there? Okay. Okay. How often do you drink before flying? Or how often do you drink? Is it often that you have drinks the night before you fly? I can't say that I do or don't. Okay. So I guess is it common to have 3-4 drinks the night before you fly? No. I would say that's a regular deal. Okay, so I guess another question then is, I guess, when you came up to the screening area, what were you kind of thinking? Because I know obviously you were kind of worried it was just embarrassing. You said, was anything else going on there? No. Did you think that maybe you still had alcohol in your system and that's why you should maybe go back? Not at all. Okay. No. I just really was like, oh, I'm just going to look stupid. That is, taking out,
This is relevant where they're trying to figure out that there was intent to go fly. There have been cases where pilots will show up and be under the influence of drugs or alcohol. It's just, we're human at the end of the day. And they'll say, oh, I never really intended to fly. I just was walking to the plane and walking around the plane. They might say something like that. So they're asking, and they're trying to prove intent, that the intention was for this pilot to actually operate the aircraft.
Right, he could say, well, I was just showing up to tell everybody, I can't fly today. I'm drunk.
Pre-flight checks and things like that, it is showing that you have the intention to go fly. So the detective is trying to figure out, is that the case? Did you intend to go fly the aircraft? That's why he's asking him this.
How you started stopping the day? Okay. What I did, I pulled the flight plan out. Okay.
Now, from a pilot's perspective, if you've seen my vlog, you've seen all the work that I'm doing before I even get to the aircraft. I'm checking weather, I'm checking alternates, I'm checking fuel. Well, this flight is going from Minneapolis to San Diego in July. Surprise, spoiler alert, it's going to be 80 and sunny. There's really not a lot of homework that you need to do in this short of a flight, this type of year, going to San Diego in the middle of the day. And even if there is a problem, there's a lot of other airports nearby. You're going to be going past Vegas on your way there. You're going to be close to Los Angeles. You have so many alternative options when you're doing a domestic flight like this in the middle of summertime going to Southern California. So the level of preparation is a lot less than, let's say, when I'm flying. A lot of times I'm going a long ways. It could be 10, 12 hours. So what's the weather like where we're going? What's the weather like on the way there? What are our backup plans? There's a lot more preparation. Showing up like this, you would have some preparation, but nothing near what you've seen when I've prepped for my flights. Even now, when I do a domestic flight, on a 747, if I'm doing, let's say, Miami to Houston, obviously in the summertime there's going to be some thunder showers and things like that, but the level of preparation is a lot less intensive because there's a lot more options and there's a lot more backup plans when you're going across the ocean, limited on fuel, weight, and things like that. So him being kind of nonchalant with like, oh, I just downloaded the flight plan is a little bit strange. Like you're boarding the plane, but all you've done is just now downloaded the flight plan. It seems like a little bit more lax than it should be, but I definitely wouldn't expect that he would have done all the preparation that you've seen me do as I get ready to do a long international flight. So it's a little bit lax, but not ridiculous.
I just really was like, well, I'm just going to look stupid. That is, taking out,
Now, there's nothing that prohibits him from transporting or flying with alcohol in your bag. I know pilots that have done it. It's a pretty common thing. A lot of times when you go overseas, you might go over to Europe or South America, and you'll grab a bottle of wine. I've done it before, and I drink maybe once every few years. I rarely drink, but
he didn't want to get screened after they saw alcohol in his bag.
Prohibit you from doing that. I also know pilots that they have a certain whiskey that they like to drink, and so they'll just fly wherever they're going, and they'll bring their own whiskey because obviously it's a lot cheaper to bring it with you than go buy it at a bar or at a restaurant. So it's not uncommon, and there's nothing against having an unopened bottle, and in some airlines having an open bottle. Now, I do have more restrictions because there are certain places that I fly to that are dry countries, and in the Middle East there are countries that I go to, and there are countries that we go to where they prohibit you from bringing alcohol inside the country. Many to San Diego, there's no reason to do that. So there's no reason to have that be a problem, to have that in there. But you're about to find out why he's embarrassed about it.
And then is there any reason why you're dishonest with us on the flight? Because I asked you numerous times, you know, kind of had you been drinking when I was asking you, you told me Saturday. I just was embarrassed, you know. Okay, this was, you know,
I want to see what his VAC was.
You can get off the aircraft. I told you a couple times that you can go home instead of flying before we did the breathalyzer, and you say that you felt okay to fly, so you felt all right.
Oh shit! He told him to go home multiple times before the breathalyzer was official.
I mean, apparently I did, and I'm really surprised that something didn't happen. So, okay.
Now this blows my mind. The pilot was given the out of all outs. The detective gave him the option to call in sick. And the thing is that every airline pilot, as we prep to before we go to the airlines, we go through all these different scenarios. And one of the scenarios that every airline pilot, if you know an airline pilot, you ask him this question, his answer is going to be something similar to this. Because the airlines will often ask this to see kind of what your response is. And it's, hey, you're a first officer, we've hired you, you're at the airline here, and the captain shows up to the plane and he seems drunk. What are you going to do? They want to see that, A, you're going to push back and not let that captain go fly the plane drunk and endanger your lives and all the lives of everybody on there as long as they're aircraft and violate its whole career. They want to see that. So they want to hear what you're going to have to do about it. Now, there's a bunch of different answers that people give. But one of the very common ones that people say is, well, this is what they say in the interview. Well, I would tell the captain, hey, Cap, you don't look real good. Maybe you should call in sick. And then they go, well, what if the captain refuses to call in sick? You go, Cap, if you don't call in sick because you don't look fit to fly at all, I'm going to have to call in to the scheduling or to the chief pilot and tell them that you're sick because I don't feel comfortable with you. You don't look well enough to go fly. You don't seem normal. You don't seem your normal self that you normally do. So whatever it is, whatever that captain's response is, you always push back. You never let them fly. That's like rule number one. That's everything that you learn. So here this detective obviously is not knowing about airline interviews and all that stuff is there in the flight deck. I'm guessing the captain's probably sitting up there as well. And the detective's giving him this option like, hey, I gave you the option to call in sick and just kind of like walk away and just pretend this didn't happen. And he was like, no, I'm...
Ah, damn. Imagine missing that layup.
To fly. That blows my mind.
You just told the captain, well, what did you tell the captain? I think you can say it right, yeah. What did you tell him when you got on? Was this normal, or did you guys talk about anything when you first got on? We were talking about time off. We were talking about, how many days coming off. I said, I like week off. He said, yeah, so we were talking about our sick policy and contract doc, so basically just catching up before we got it multiple times. So not every time, but fairly often you fly with him. This has been my third or fourth time flying with him. Yeah. Is there anything else for me that you have any questions or anything right now? I'll kind of explain everything going forward.
Now, Delta's a huge airline, and Minneapolis is a large base for them. Flying with someone 3 or 4 times is a lot. At my airline, Delta probably has, 8 times the amount of pilots that my airline has. If I fly with someone 3 times, it's a lot. It's a lot of times. I rarely fly with the same person. So flying 3 or 4 different times with someone means you probably have similar seniorities, so you're bidding similar types of things or similar destinations that you like. So 3 or 4 times, it seems like, wow, that's hardly at all very much, but it's quite a lot. It's quite a lot of flying. So you kind of get the rhythm, and you kind of know what everybody's expecting. Everyone has their own nuances, so you're going to feel more comfortable with somebody, and you'll have a little bit more chit-chat that will go on after you've flown with them 3 or 4 times. So it is kind of a lot.
Yeah, so basically what's going to happen is you're not going to jail. Okay, so what's going to happen is when we finish up, what you're going to be booked. You are going to be right now pending charges, pending the blood result test, okay, that you provided for. You're going to be pending charges for Minnesota Statute 360, which is operating an aircraft under the influence of alcohol. The threshold for an aircraft is 0.04. So 0.04 compared to 0.08 in a regular vehicle, right? There's other commercial vehicles in there. 0.04 aircraft is one of them. Like I said, your preliminary breath sample was a 0.063, or sorry,
I bet you he probably did think he was good. I'm going to be honest with you. He probably did. A lot of people that blow like right at 0.08, they don't even know they're buzzing. God damn, dude. You should have just called in sick. As soon as he brought up all this bullshit, you should have just called in sick.
Just fingerprints, photographs.
He blew a 0.06, which means he could get in a car and drive it right now, just not an airplane or a commercial vehicle.
And then you'll be released. It sounds like your chief pilot, I don't know if the Iron Monk's going to pick you up and give you a ride. That's up to you, obviously, but I don't know if they were made aware of the situation. That's up to you how you want to get home. I'm not going to recommend you drive just because of the situation. So you want to come pick you up, however you want to get home, that's up to you. And then you go from there. What will happen is once your blood test results come back in, what's the time frame? I can't say for sure. It depends on their case. Well, because I do probably month. So it's going to be a while. Yeah, that's all up to the BCA or county where the blood results get sent out to and get tested at a lab. So it's a while. Okay. Yeah. Fortunately, it's not like a breath test or anything where it's instant. We know and we can charge right away. So while we're waiting for those to happen is most likely, since it is involving aircraft, kind of on the job, it'll be likely referred to the U.S. Attorney's Office and they'll charge it out. If they don't want to charge it out for whatever reason, decline, then it'll come back locally. So basically what will happen is somebody will be in touch with you once we get those results back and let you know. And I'll let you know what charges are going to come, and things like that. Okay. So, is there any questions there? So what we'll do is, if you want to wait in here, I'll have somebody come book you. You can do that. It'll probably take 50 minutes, not too long, and then you'll be good to go. All your possessions and bags are right here, and I'll give you those. And you have your phone as well, right? It's in your bag. So yeah, I'll be right back in or something.
Damn, dude.
Yeah, I don't care what I know, but you guys do have my badge. Your badge? Yeah, I'll give that back. I have no reason to keep that right now. That's between you, your airline, and the FAA, I guess. So yeah, I'm getting everything we took from you back. I'm not seizing anything from you.
It's interesting that he's really concerned about his crew badge, and that's because that's one of the few things that is technically your airline's property. It's not something that you own. They have the rights to it. If you ever get fired or quit, that's something they're going to want back. And you get in a lot of trouble for losing your crew badge because you could have fraud or all kinds of different things. So it is a big deal losing that. So it is interesting that he's very focused on getting that back. But I would think that's kind of the least of his overall concerns right now. Well, the lab report came back, and the pilot's blood sample was determined that he had an alcohol concentration of 0.027 at
That's below the limit, but some... Oh, wait. Determined that at the time the pilot was in the cockpit. Some airlines will still penalize you for a 0.02, so half the legal limit. He had an ethyl alcohol concentration. So how long did it take him to draw the blood?
At 1:10 p.m. They determined that at the time the pilot was on the flight deck, that his blood alcohol content was somewhere between 0.04 and 0.08, which detective had already talked about is way past the legal limit. According to the court records, he served 1 week in jail and the rest of the time was under home detention. Then he was placed on probation, which included alcohol treatment. He pleaded guilty in court to attempting to operate an aircraft under the influence of alcohol. Now, I've personally known people who have had this happen where they were caught either with drugs or alcohol in their system while they're flying. I've personally talked to them about it. Obviously, it's a sensitive subject. People are embarrassed about it, but I'm just a nosy person, so I would ask them about it. And essentially, I can tell you already what's going to happen with this pilot. They're going to lose all of their ratings. So the FAA was going to remove all of their licenses. But what they can't remove is your experience, your ability of flying, your skills. They can't obviously take that away. So if this pilot chooses that he wants to go back into aviation, which is typically what pilots do, is they're going to go back and just have to retake the exams. They still have the hours, so they just go retake all their different exams, which is kind of a mess. But you go retake those different exams, you pass the different check rides that you need to pass, and now you're qualified to go reapply to different airlines. Lucky for this pilot, this happened in 2019. And in 2021 and 2022, there was an unprecedented boom in air travel demand, which means they needed pilots. After he would complete all that training, the probationary period and everything, that would allow him the opportunity to go apply to different airlines. And when airlines are really short, they're going to take people who have the most experience that they can get to quickly pass training. Now, let's say he was qualified on, let's say, an Airbus A320. Let's say that's what he was flying at Delta. If he was current and qualified and has thousands of hours doing that, that is something that the airline, if they have that aircraft, know that he's going to be able to safely fly. He's also going to be put into a program we call the HIMSS program, which stands for Human Intervention Motivation Study. Now, the really sad part about this is that if the day before that pilot had called to his airline and called the chief pilot and said, hey, chief, listen, man, I'm having a hard time. And I'm not saying that this was the case for this particular pilot, but if he called and said, I'm having a hard time stopping drinking, and I don't know what, I can't stop, and I'm getting drunk every night before flying, and again, I'm not saying that this is the pilot, but if that pilot had called his chief to say that and said he had an issue, even with drugs, I've heard about it. Airlines I've seen go way above and beyond what I would even think is reasonable in taking care of their crew, sending them to rehab, keeping them on a salary, sending them out to rehab to get everything back and fixed. By them taking that action and going there, the airlines will typically go above and beyond to help you remedy whatever it is to help you get back on a good path. You will be in this HIMSS program, and there is no HERS program, but you'll be on the HIMSS program for the rest of your career. No doubt. You get that, you get to keep your job, everything's okay, as long as you follow the steps inside that HIMSS program, you're fine. However, if you show up to your plane, and in this particular case, where you're showing up under the effects of drugs and alcohol, the airlines don't really have a choice. They have to fire you. There's so much liability for them, and it shows poor judgment. And I've always talked about one of the big key things about being a pilot is making good judgment. I was always told some of the best captains are going to maybe not be the best pilots, but they make good judgment, and they bring everybody together, and they run a good crew. Maybe not be the best, we call it stick and rudder guy, but they make good judgment. This is obviously poor judgment, and nobody's going to deny that. They even have websites specifically for pilots on the HIMSS program, so pilots can not throw away their career or their life. They can get back on track, and if you're lucky, maybe your airline will send you to a really cool rehabilitation center for 30.
All right, guys. Somehow we got on plane DUIs tonight. So I hope you enjoyed the show. I appreciate it. I got to go. I didn't realize it was running so late. It's after 2 a.m. here. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. If you want to support the show, go to buymeacoffee.com/coldbeer. Thank you to Q Idiot for the donation he left on Buy Me a Coffee. I appreciate it. And I'll see everybody tomorrow. Have a good night. We'll talk to you later. Love you. See you. Bye.
But I can tell you this, about if this douchebag happens to see this particular show, you don't have the forking balls to call out the people on this planet by name and tell them exactly who they are and tell them the rest of the world who they are. You don't have the forking balls. You don't have the balls.
I still have to fix my website. I might just forward the damn thing to one of those link websites. I don't know. It's getting aggravating.
You know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet. Here we go, I think I started some shit. Piss them off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in them beds, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet. And they say that I'm a lunatic. Well listen, bitch, I came equipped with a quick wit and a 6th sense for the stupid shit. Where my true believer? Y'all need Jesus. Praise the Lord, head to the extreme. All these false fucking prophets who profit off of gossip. Worshipping drums, cocking, begging for a throat deposit. Swinging fucking meat hammers like Thor in a thong. He's strapped to the shaft, beating his chest like he's King Kong. Starving for attention, I'ma make your gut burst. I'll be your huckleberry, I can quench that thirst. Baby eating lizard people, alien sex. What's next? Trump in a dress, fucking Flynn on his desk. A retard in a vest, climbing up 5G towers. Cause you told him if he did, he'd get fucking superpowers. Here we go, I think I started some shit. Piss them off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in them beds, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet. Here we go, I think I started some shit. Piss them off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in them beds, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet.